is brought to you by Curling O'Keefe, brewers of OB and the Carlsberg family. And now, for all the action, let's go to the stadium and our CBC Sports crew.
Today, the Western playoffs begin for the Stampeders and the Blue Bombers. Live from Winnipeg Stadium. Good afternoon, I'm John Wells, and we're ready for cold weather football. It's a chilly 6 degrees Celsius minus right now. The winds are southwest at 20. Both could be a factor in Winnipeg today. But it's not quite as bad as it was 2 years ago, back in 1980, when a heavy overnight snowfall added to the problems for the same two teams who met in the semifinal back 2 seasons ago. For the record, the Bombers won that encounter, but they lost the Western Division final in Edmonton. In many ways, we're a little surprised at a Calgary-Winnipeg matchup in this semifinal today. First of all, the Stampeders were long shots just to make the playoffs. And secondly, the Bombers appeared destined for a first-place finish and a weekend off plus a bye into the final. That is, until the Eskimos got hot, won 8 straight, and now they await the winner of this afternoon's game in the Western Division final for the 6th straight year. Just before we join Leo, Don, and Ronnie this afternoon, there's a score in the Eastern semifinal, and it reads Ottawa 30, Hamilton 20. So Don, George Brancato is up to his old magic tricks again.
John, George Brancato just never ceases to amaze me with what he does at playoff time. Leo, you've coached against him in the playoffs.
I'll tell you, he's the wizard of the East. George has a tendency to create a situation with his football team where they're the most unpredictable bunch in the whole world. And one thing about Ottawa, traditionally over the years, when they see that light at the end of the tunnel, they go for it, and that's what they did. They were 17 points down, they went for it, and they ended up winning the football game. Fantastic job.
When it was 17-0 Hamilton, Ron, I thought it was all over.
Oh, so did I. I figure when you get a team down in the playoffs on a cold day and you're not supposed to win, there's every opportunity to give up. But you know the thing that I always get amazed at, every year we talk about Brancato rebuilding football teams, I don't think he should ever change his style. That seems to be the way he does it best. It's unbelievable he's done it again. I think it's great.
He seems to tread that thin line and seems to come up with that successful combination when it counts most at this time of year.
I'll tell you, Don, if you're making book on that game this afternoon, no one would have picked Ottawa. And yet Ottawa goes into that football game. Last week, Skip Walker didn't make a yard. Today, he made 254 yards. How do you figure that? I mean, he just turned loose, and that was it.
A league record performance this afternoon for Skip Walker in playoff activity, 254 yards. That was the situation in the East this afternoon. Ottawa with an upset over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They now go against the Toronto Argonauts next Sunday in the Eastern Final. Right now, let's talk about Calgary-Winnipeg, 2 teams that over the course of the season split their 2 meetings. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers reached the midpoint of the 1982 season with the best overall record, 7 wins and a loss. On August 20th, they destroyed the Calgary Stampeders 35-4, but in the process lost their leading receiver, Eugene Goodloe, for the season. Goodloe had established a league record for receptions the year before. Winnipeg has almost become paranoid in an effort to find a replacement. They've taken a look at no less than 14 wide receivers. 6 of them have worn Bomber uniforms since that game. The latest is James Murphy. He is making his first start this afternoon. He is 5'10", 178 pounds. He had NFL experience basically as a kickoff return man with both Minnesota and Kansas City. And this quest for a replacement really has had the Bombers in a lot of trouble. Ron Lancaster, it's something that they've worked on ever since Goodloe went down. Ray Yawk actually said that might cost us a Grey Cup.
Well, he could be absolutely right. No receiver's been there long enough to get a real good look. They've had their problems out there, and as a result, it's made it awful tough on their inside guys, Poplawski and House, because that's who the teams are reckoning with and trying to stop. So it is a problem.
Well, Don, I think that they made the big mistake in trying to replace Goodloe instead of trying to replace the position. Every guy that they brought in there, they compared with Goodloe, and there's nobody, you don't get a Goodloe once every 10 years up here. And so every time they brought a kid in there, they said, well, he's not as good as Goodloe, put somebody else in there. Had they put a guy in there and stayed with him for the 8 games, by now they'd have a receiver position out there. They don't have one now.
Be interesting to see how James Murphy fares this afternoon. The Calgary Stampeders have also made a major change. Dan Skutak, a linebacker, will be making his first start this afternoon. He's a replacement for the injured Larry Barker. This is a tough position for a linebacker to come into the lineup as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, I believe this kid can play. He comes from Auburn University down in the southeastern United States where they play excellent defense down there. So coming in as an inside linebacker, he's more at home at that position. Plus, he's got Danny Bass beside him, and that always helps to have a veteran with experience there.
Well, if he played for Pat Dye down there, you know he can play football. And if you're going to replace a linebacker at this stage of the season, if this kid is good enough to play linebacker, he's good enough to step in there and play right away.
What about this one-game shot? Some coaches say they love playoff activity. Both Ray Yock and Jack Goda profess a liking for it.
I've never saw a team or never seen a team that was as optimistic as Calgary is about this game, talking to God and all their players. We'll have to see what happens.
All right, we'll return to Winnipeg Stadium and the opening kickoff right after this message.
Your box seat to CFL 82. We're bringing you the dramatic finish to the CFL season. The decisive games right through the playoffs, both East and West, culminating in the Grey Cup Classic. In a season of surprises, no team is safe from an upset. It all adds up to wide-open football CFL style. Catch all the action from your home box seat. Carling O'Keefe Sports. Bring the sports world home to you.
The Calgary Stampeders preparing to kick off to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in this Western Conference semifinal encounter. Winnipeg 35-4 victors on the 20th of August at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. The Stampeders came back to Winnipeg on the 11th of September. They were winners by a score of 15-11. J.T. Hay preparing to kick off for the Stampeders. Deep for Winnipeg, William Miller and Nate Johnson, numbers 33 and 80 respectively. Referee Ross Ferrier giving the signal to J.T. Hay. And this Western semifinal is underway. Nate Johnson will start out from the goal line. What great field position for Winnipeg to start their first offensive series. Harry Kruger on the return, or on the tackle, I should say, after the return by Johnson. Dieter Brock working with Miller and Hucklack, and the receiving corps with the change, Murphy in there in place of Ricky Martin. Along the offensive line, Frankie Smith is back in the lineup after missing 4 games. He was replaced by Roger Taylor. On the first play from scrimmage, William Miller picks up 3 yards. Doug Battershill came from his linebacking position to make the stop.
Don, talking to Jack Goda this morning at breakfast, he was saying that they've had a great week of practice and that the defensive line has especially been aggressive all week long working against their offense, and they certainly started the football game looking like that this afternoon.
Wayne Harris is starting at that linebacking position, but I'm quite sure that Stupak will be in there shortly.
Gotta have this to say about young Wayne Harris. He said that he's got great instinct to the football and he doesn't make any mistakes.
On second down, Nate Johnson, the intended receiver. The pass is incomplete, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will be kicking into that stiff breeze blowing out of the south. This morning it wasn't bad in Winnipeg, but around noon the wind began to increase in velocity, and if any kicker in the Canadian Football League can handle those wind conditions, it is Bob Cameron. And I guess Ron Lancaster, we could say he's had a lot of experience.
Well, anytime you play in Winnipeg, you don't play very many games without the wind blowing, so he has to practice in it every day.
Alexis and Kruger are back to receive the punt. It's taken by Alexis. Alexis trying to get outside, and Scott Flagel was the first to make contact with him. He only had a return of a couple of yards after a 25-yard kick by Bob Cameron.
And here's a kid that they're really high on, Scott Flagel, and he made a great open field tackle on that play because had he got outside there, the contain had been given up on the inside, and he may have gone a long ways, but it was a great open field tackle.
The Stampeders going with the same offensive unit that had the success and in effect came through a critical encounter, almost like a playoff game, against the BC Lions. They needed a victory in that one to qualify for postseason activity. Jerry DiTilio gives to James Sykes. Sykes had a big game for the Stampeders in that 15-11 win. He strikes up to the 44-yard line where he is stopped by Tony Norman.
Maybe Jerry DiTilio saw a little of that Hamilton-Ottawa game and saw how that running game went for Ottawa and said, let's use that Sykes. He can do that thing same way as Skip Walker can.
Aaron Brown continuing to operate from that middle linebacking position with Leo Ezerins, who played there most of the season, moving to the outside. 2nd and 3. The ball is at the 44. James Sykes again trying to get outside, and he is brought down by Paul Bennett at the 46-yard line. There's also a penalty flag on the play.
Don, I believe that flag was thrown in error. Number 65, the linesman signaled over this way, and apparently that is not a flag for real.
Well, John, we'll wait for referee Ross Ferrier to give us the signal.
A great job of reading there by, flown in error. Great job of reading here by Paul Bennett. There's a toss right here, and you see Paul come from the rover position, number 27 right there, and just fill and make a great play on the thing, little or no gain.
Jack Lota taking no chances. He has the wind at his back, and Mike McTagg will be punting to Paul Bennett and Nate Johnson, who are back in the vicinity of their own 15-yard line. Stampeders at their own 46 on this 3rd and 1 situation. Good high kick by McTagg, taken by Paul Bennett at the 25. Bennett, the all-time career leader in punt return yardage. Excellent run back, forced out of bounds by Bernie Morrison at the 50-yard line. So again, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, operating against that stiff south breeze, will have good field position for their 2nd offensive series of the game. A run back of 25 by Paul Bennett.
GMC's economical S15. Our new small truck has some news that's definitely big. The new GMC S15 Club Coupe with extra carrying space inside. Then there's the S15 Long Bed with its roomier cargo box. And the new sports-modded GMC S15 Jimmy, all available with Instatrack 4-wheel drive and standard V6 power. GMC's S15s, 4 little rigs with a name that says trucks. GMC, trucks are what we're all about.
You've got about 5 square yards of real estate to cover, and sometimes it feels like 5 square miles. But right from the first time you played, you knew you'd found your game. And right from the first time you tried OV, we'll bet you'd found your beer.
That's why you just say OV for that great tasting beer. OV, OV, oh yeah, just say OV.
Well, so far there has been no snow in Winnipeg, but temperatures for the past week have been much below normal. And with that wind blowing out of the south today, it is cool down at field level. Dieter Brock, not as good a year as he had last season when he established the CFL record, but still, by any other yardstick, an outstanding performance in 1982 for the Winnipeg quarterback. James Murphy, he has the ability to run with the ball after catching it. They tried to set up the screen. It produces a gain of 8. Doug Battershill came over to make the tackle.
Could almost see that coming. Just as soon as he went in motion, Terry Irvin started sneaking up a little bit. He must realize that if you get everybody over there, it's you and him all the way, and they ever block you, it's a touchdown. He saw it coming, and he got help from the inside, which he has to get.
Murphy and Nate Johnson come out. Pete Caton and Lyle Bauer go in. A short yardage play for Winnipeg, 2nd and a little over 2 yards. The ball is at the Calgary 52-yard line. We're still scoreless in the opening quarter. 11 minutes, 50 seconds the time remaining. 2nd and just over 2, Winnipeg. William Miller fights his way for first down yardage to the 43 of the Stampeders. Darrell Toussaint came in from his halfback position to make the tackle. A run of 9 by William Miller. One of the disappointing aspects this afternoon, the fact that there was not a full house at Winnipeg Stadium.
There's a handoff to Miller here, and this happens so often in a short yardage situation where they're in there real tight. If he hits that seam just right, there's a good chance he can break it for long yardage.
Winnipeg 1st and 10, the ball at the Calgary 43. Incomplete, in and out of the hands of Joe Poplawski. It will be 2nd and 10, Winnipeg from the 43.
Kind of a trail pattern, Leo, where they send one guy to clear it, and Poplawski goes out and just turns up the field and tries to get to the dead spot between there, and the ball's a little high, could have caught it, but he got hit just as the ball got there, and when it's cold, it's hard to hang on.
That's right. Wiley Turner changed his mind a little bit when he came up and hit him from the back there and bounced it loose.
Terry Irvin making the defensive play for the Calgary Stampeders. It's 2nd and 10. Brock is under pressure. He'll be dropped for a loss by Randy Troutman back at the 52-yard line.
I got to correct that, Ron. It was Terry Irving that made that play.
Well, this is what they have to do to Brock. They have to get pressure on him. Don't let him stand back there all day because he reads too well. Troutman gets loose, gets hold of Brock. And, you know, I think it's a big secret whether Brock is healthy or isn't he healthy. But I'll tell you what, you start hitting that hard ground out there and those little aches and pains build up in a hurry.
Jack Goda was telling me this morning at breakfast that Troutman is a kid that's just a little bit short for a National Football League style lineman. He's 6'2", but that he's been with a couple NFL teams, and they're really happy to have him. He's doing a great job for them.
Alton Alexis on the return, a 26-yard kick by Bob Cameron. Ken Shanconi was the first downfield to make the tackle.
Let's establish something, Don, right now before we go any further in this ball game. Is it true or isn't it true that Ron Lancaster had a chance to sign Rick House, who's now the Shenley nominee, and he didn't want to take him. He didn't think he was good enough.
I can't believe, Leo, that is a dirty shot. I shall get you.
You got me already.
You guaranteed that's coming.
Pressure on DeTilio. He's being chased by McIver. His scrambling ability gets him out of difficulty. The pass was intended for Smith on the sidelines. It was deflected by Reggie Pearson. But it was the scrambling ability of Jerry DeTilio that prevented a huge loss as Doug McIver was chasing the Calgary quarterback.
Well, that's a big play. You know, he doesn't have to take that 20-yard loss because he is trapped. He's got nowhere to throw it. Now he starts to scramble. McIver just about has him. But DeTilio, this is what he does best, and then he wisely throws it just far enough to where they can't call anything. It's knocked away, incomplete, no problem. That would have been a big loss.
2nd and 10. The Stampeders at their own 31. Well over the head of Willie Armstead, the intended receiver, and again the Stampeder offense is unable to move the football, and they are forced into a punting situation. Tony Norman was pressuring Jerry DeTilio once again.
He's very fortunate, Don, that he didn't throw that ball on the money. If he throws it right at Armstead, Paul Bennett was already coming to rob, or whatever, thief or steal, whatever. He was going to get it anyway because he was there. He read that perfectly.
Paul Bennett and Nate Johnson again are back for the 3rd down kick by Mike McTagg with 9:28 the time remaining in this first quarter. It's still scoreless at Winnipeg Stadium. Nate Johnson takes it at the 35. Johnson is unable to outrun Danny Bass at the 35-yard line. That was a 44-yard punt by Mike McTagg, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will be scrimmaging at their own 35 when we return.
Dramatic changes have taken shape in today's cars, and now there is a radial tire redesign. Firestone introduces the 721 Metrix. An evolution of 721 quality, this new tire combines advanced technology and engineering design for optimum performance all year round, all kinds of weather, on North American and import cars. Your new 721 from Firestone, the Metrix Radial.
Thinking of buying a VCR?
Compare and save with Sanyo.
Compare oranges with oranges. Compare Sanyo's basic model with other basic models. Compare Sanyo's top of the line with equivalent models of other brands.
Compare and save with Sanyo.
It's the same story virtually every time. You save money with Sanyo.
Compare and save with Sanyo. Because Sanyo makes life good things better.
Winnipeg 1st and 10 from their own 35. During the course of the season, the 2 games played, that's how the Blue Bombers and the Stampeders fared offensively. There has not been much in the way of offense so far this afternoon. Ray Yock really didn't know what to expect from his team this afternoon. They were down after their loss last weekend to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Very quiet all week, but he felt they were prepared to play. William Miller certainly is prepared to play. He has had a couple of fine runs now, a 10-yard gallop that time before being caught by Ray Odom.
You see Miller here, a good back has that ability to start up to the inside and then veer to the outside and pick up his blocking. That's another thing that Skip Walker does so well over in Ottawa.
Watch who makes the block, Leo. 31. Who's 31 for Winnipeg? Makes that block outside to get him out there. Who is that guy?
That's the guy that you passed up on. Right?
In all fairness to Ron Lancaster, though, I think the initial scouting report on Rick House had him at Simon Fraser as a running back.
Right.
You didn't know he could catch the ball, did you, Ron?
No, we took an offensive lineman.
I'll tell you one thing about that House. He can play any place you put him.
Measurement reveals a Winnipeg first down. The ball just shy of the 45. There almost appeared to be a mix-up in that Winnipeg backfield. Quarterback Dieter Brock and William Miller almost collided, and then Danny Bass did collide with Miller. Dropped him for a loss of 1.5 yards.
They pulled back. They pulled the offensive tackle to try to come back, but the footing's a little tough, and it looked like he had a little bit of mix-up with Dieter. But Bass sees it coming. He saw that guy pull, and he's going to follow that lineman because he's going to take you to the ball.
What a great trade that was when the Calgary Stampeders acquired Dan Bass from the Toronto Argonauts.
That's a play that worked very effectively for Winnipeg last week, and you can tell that Calgary's been working against it.
James Murphy, the receiver, I think he's going to be stopped about 2 yards shy of a first down.
That's a nice reception, but it's of no value. I mean, he's going to get 8 yards, but they're going to have to punt the football. That's a receiver's responsibility. Get that first down. Watch him. You'll see the flag down there to the top of the screen. He breaks it just off short. Brock leads him back to the sidelines, so you should, and they're going to come up short of the first down. You've got to make that first down on second down.
This might be one of the smallest crowds of the season at Winnipeg Stadium. The advance ticket sale was below 20,000, and they will be very fortunate if there are 25,000 in the stands. What a good kick by Cameron. Alton Alexis has to chase it back to his own 17-yard line. Stan McCullis was the first man downfield. Bob Cameron with a 40-yard kick.
Well, I hope it's a little bit warmer. Next Sunday afternoon, we'll be at CNE Stadium in Toronto for the Eastern Division Final between the Argos and those amazing Ottawa Rough Riders, an unofficial kickoff of sorts to a week of Grey Cup festivities in Toronto. Next weekend, the Argos and the Rough Riders, the Eastern Final on CBC.
Yes, we look forward to that Eastern Final on CBC television next Sunday afternoon. Ron Lancaster, John Wells, Leo Cahill, and I will be there. Calgary 1st and 10. The pass for Armstead. He has it to the 30 and a first down, Calgary.
You know, Don, something that young punt returners should take into consideration. On that last punt there, they played it for the wind, and as a result, it went over their head, and they got some bad field position on it. It's always easier to play it a little bit deeper and come up and make the play and play it safe, and you can always come up and catch the ball running full speed, but when it gets over your head, you're in bad trouble.
The catch by Armstead, the first completion of the afternoon for DeTilio in 3 attempts. He's got another one to Smith. R.B. Smith is up to the 37. That will be a gain of 7. It will be 2nd and 3. Doug McIver from his defensive tackle position came over to make the stop.
Not a bad play anytime you can get the ball in his hands. Let's watch Ezrins. He's the guy that got the chance. They had a block from Pearson, but Ezrins is there to make the hit. But you can get the ball to a guy like Smith outside where he can use his ability and his moves. He's liable to break one of those.
They ruled that he was down at the 36-yard line. On this 2nd down play, James Sykes fighting for a first down. He is going to be stopped about a yard short by the veteran John Helton, who was the initial man to make contact, then had help from middle linebacker Aaron Brown. 6:09 is the time remaining in this opening quarter. Jack Goda wearing his lucky hat, and by the way, this is Jocko's birthday.
That's right. Jack Goda's birthday today, and also Alex Reschke's wife Ruth's having a birthday today. So the Calgary Stampeders are in a pretty good festive occasion down here. Jack would like nothing better than to win. That'd be the greatest birthday present he could get.
Paul Bennett and Nate Johnson drop back for this 3rd down punt by Mike McTagg. Winnipeg, of course, trying to play Calgary to a stalemate during this opening quarter when they have the wind against them. And they've done a pretty good job of handling that wind so far. Nate Johnson trying to find some room down the sideline. Winnipeg has done an excellent job this afternoon on those special teams. On the opening kickoff, it was Nate Johnson, then Paul Bennett on a return. This time, Nate Johnson. And let's pause for this message.
Now I'm crying my heart out.
Super talent Ricky Skaggs headlines K-Tel's Super Country 82 with Merle Haggard, Don Williams, Barbara Mandrell, and Willie Nelson. Lacey J. Dalton, George Jones, and Tom Waits Whitty.
And Lord, I love that lady wearing tight-fitting
Janie
jeans.
Bricky.
I'll need someone
Super
to tell
Country
me
82, the year's best from K-Tel, and it's in stores now.
Sometimes you wonder how anything that looks so easy can be so hard. But right from the first time you played, you knew you'd found your game. And right from the first time you tried OV, we'll bet you'd found your beer.
That's why you just say OV, all that great taste in beer. OV, OV, oh yeah, you just say OV.
Albert runs for office.
You can't win. I don't agree.
Sunday on Home Fires.
There have been a lot of changes over the year in the television booth, but one constant for 25 years has been the lovable old Irishman, Derek Donaldson. Derek celebrating his 25th year as our studio director. And Derek, on behalf of our entire crew, may we make this presentation to you. We don't want you to say a word, just shut up as you usually do. Step back and enjoy the game. The pass is intercepted. Doug Battershill picks it off over on the far side of the field. And the Calgary Stampeders, with that turnover, will enjoy their best field position of the day.
It looks almost like a pick pattern. Leo, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it was 2 round, but Battershill goes up and makes a great grab one-handed, and Jack Goda is leading cheers over there on the sidelines as he goes down, and Calgary's in pretty good position now.
The Stampeders first and 10. They are at the Winnipeg 42-yard line with 5:14 remaining in this opening quarter. The pitch to James Sykes trying to get outside. Good work by Tony Norman to force the play initially, and then Vince Faison came in to make the tackle. There's a penalty flag on the play.
Vince Faison made a great play there, Don. He just would not let him outside.
Whoever made this fatal error here on this roughing, and it looks like it was against Winnipeg. It was a dumb play because it was a great defensive play to start with.
Tony Norman strung things out as he stretched the blocking out.
Major foul, Winnipeg number 28, piling on. First down.
Well, let's see if we can see it. That's Wiley Turner, the corner. Faison makes the great play right here. Here comes Paul. I don't know. I don't think I ever did see him, but he must have done something because they caught him.
Well, that's a big penalty as far as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are concerned because it moves the Stampeders into the 29-yard line, and now James Sykes runs it to the 20. That will be very close to a first down, depending on where they place the ball. Ray Yawk talking to his offensive troops, particularly James Murphy, the new receiver. I'm sure he'll be stressing to him the patterns he must run.
Yeah, he's going to tell him when it's 2nd and 10, get 10, and, you know, if you have to clear a pattern, get it cleared. But he's going to make sure he understands his rules and his plays out there.
2nd and 1 for the Stampeders. James Sykes has the first down as he gets to the 15-yard stripe. Aaron Brown, from his middle linebacking position, stopped Sykes at that point. As I mentioned, in the 15-11 September 11th victory by the Stampeders over Winnipeg, James Sykes had a big afternoon, or a big evening. He ran the ball very, very well.
John, when the weather starts getting a little cold, that running game becomes more substantial, and it's proven out here again this afternoon as Sykes is moving the ball pretty well.
It's ever important at Ivor Wynne Stadium this afternoon for Ottawa. Tilio's end zone pass deflected by Charles Williams. Alton Alexis, the intended receiver.
Charles Williams never gave a step. He just challenged Alexis all the way down, stepped in front of him. If the ball was on target, it was his. He played it great. Yeah, you can't play it any better than that.
Again, we remind you, in case you missed that Eastern score, a big upset. The Ottawa Rough Riders 30-20 over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 254 rushing yards by Skip Walker, a CFL playoff record. And at halftime, we'll have highlights of that Ottawa-Hamilton game.
Don
Brian
Jocko
Williams will be along to bring you all the highlights of that one. John?
I was going to say, Jocko was pretty happy about his old pal George Brancato winning today. He said for me to pass along his best regards to Georgie, as he said it.
Well, they're both lucky.
Tilly on second down, under pressure, gets the pass away, incomplete.
Strictly a case of wasting the ball there. He knew he was going to have to take a loss, and he just threw it short.
It's a little sprint. He's going to try to get outside with it. They're trying to contain him. He's getting good pressure inside. He has to get rid of it. Throws it low and outside. Nobody gets it.
Yeah, the coverage was too good there. Williams had him all the way.
David Amer, the intended receiver, in the end zone. So now on 3rd and 10, the Stampeders will be attempting a field goal by J.T. Hay.
Don, do you think you can really call those upsets anymore when Ottawa wins the playoffs? I'm starting to wonder about that.
Well, we have certainly been wondering about the performance of the Ottawa Rough Riders for the last couple of years now. They almost scored the major upset of '81 in that Grey Cup game against the Edmonton Eskimos.
Well, they sure did.
You know, there's nothing as pretty as a good running play, and we got those guards that Ottawa has.
DeTilio fumbles the snap from center, gets the pass away, but they are going to be stopped short of a first down. Wiley Turner came up to tackle Mike Kirkley.
When you get down there, you got to come out with some points, especially in playoff play, and they didn't come out with any points that time. That'll come back to haunt them.
Watch him drop the ball. Watch it. It's right in his hands. He drops it. Now the timing is gone now. He's got to do something with it. The only trouble is nobody knows. You know, it wasn't a called play. It's a pretty alert play on Kirkley's spot just to get out there. See, that kicker couldn't kick that. Now DeTilio's hollering, help, whatever he can holler. Somebody help him.
So the Blue Bombers with 2:37 remaining in the opening quarter are 1st and 10 at their own 11. Draw play with William Miller. Battershill wrapped him up after a pickup of 3 yards. William Miller, the leading rusher in the Western Conference. The leader in the CFL, of course, was Skip Walker. And James Sykes had the distinction of finishing in 3rd spot. Brock has only put the ball in the air 5 times this afternoon. That's somewhat unusual for the Winnipeg quarterback. He usually comes out throwing. This time, I think he'll be attempting to put it up. Will he get a chance? No, he goes down right at the line of scrimmage. He was caught by Franklin King, and Randy Troutman was the first man actually who got through and applied the pressure.
Now you see Brock going back here, but that inside pressure with the hands up causes him to step up into the pocket. When he steps up into the pocket, King is right there and makes the play.
That's the thing about pass rushes. The ends are supposed to get upfield, force a quarterback to step up, and those inside guys like Troutman and them, they come up from the middle with constant pressure, and then at the last minute throw those hands up you can't see.
Made the tackle at the 33. That was a kick of 24 yards.
Well, CBC's Grey Cup coverage begins on Saturday, November 27th with the parade, and then a special sports weekend coverage on Saturday. Then, of course, the thrill of it all is Grey Cup Sunday on CBC. We begin at 11:30 Eastern, November 28th, with an exciting history of the Fall Classic on television as well as behind the scenes. The thrill of it all, Grey Cup Day on CBC television.
Yes, it should be an exciting November 28th at CNE Stadium. It's exciting right now with Rob Forbes picking up a first down for the Stampeders. He fought his way to the 18-yard line before he was driven back by Wiley Turner.
Forbes comes out of the backfield. DeTilio just comes out. He's all by himself. On a play like this, you think that somebody has been picked off, Ron.
Yeah, there's no one out there with him, Leo. Somebody had to mix up on an assignment someplace because he was wide open.
Jack.
You see the propane heater at the Winnipeg bench as the Blue Bombers try and stay warm For some, Nate Johnson, for example, this cold weather football is a new experience. Pete Caton stood his ground at that defensive end spot, met James Sykes head on, and he may have dropped him for a loss of 1.
Caton turned him in. Caton turned him in. There's nowhere inside. He tried to bounce outside, but that hole is clogged, and Caton is waiting on him.
No room in the end. Rob Forbes is supposed to have the great personality on the football team. Coach Goda says you never know what to expect from him. I saw him last night in the hotel with the young Kirkley. They're both Toronto boys. Forbes told me to make sure I said hello to his mother and father. Told him I couldn't do that, though.
Detilio throwing incomplete, a penalty flag. Alton Alexis was bumped down at the 5-yard line. Vince Faison appeared to be the defensive back who bumped Alton Alexis. And the Blue Bombers are upset with that call.
Well, they can be upset, Don, but let's see what the referee says. We know what it's going to be.
Defensive forward pass interference, Winnipeg number 9. First down.
But the way the rule is in the book, it's definitely interference. I mean, the ball was overthrown and Faison's going someplace. He's entitled to his ground. He wouldn't have caught the ball anyway, but he did hit him, and that's going to cost you, and that gives Calgary a big break. Gets them down to the 10s.
That's a definite interpretation. Look at this guy over there with the mask on. He's trying to play Mr. Impossible.
So it's first and goal from the 10-yard line for the Stampeders. This should be the final play of the opening quarter. Alexis incomplete.
Should have caught the ball.
He was the intended receiver being covered by Wiley Turner, and that is the final play of the opening quarter. It will be Calgary, second and goal from the 10 when we return in a scoreless ball game.
When Sharp replaced 300,000 transistors and diodes with this tiny chip, it opened a whole new world of wonders. Like taking a big copier and everything it can do and making it into one of the smallest any paper copiers in the world. Introducing the Sharp SF750 copier. The Sharp SF750, a very small, very big idea. And where do big ideas like this come from? From sharp minds come sharp products.
All right now, are there any questions about the stock exchange?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes?
You didn't mention trading.
Trading?
Yes, sir. You know how investors can also make money by trading their stocks?
Well, trading takes a real expert.
You mean like Mr. Chisholm?
Like Mr. Chisholm.
I'm going to ask Mr. Chisholm to be my trader when I grow up.
Meanwhile, put yourself in the best place to be in the stock market, on the inside, with Hector M. Chisholm Company.
Players at the Winnipeg bench huddled up under the parkas. They also have that propane heater there, trying to stay warm. It's the wind chill factor that would be the big problem out there this afternoon, Ron. That wind is really strong out of the southwest.
Well, it just seems like the flags at the north end of the stadium are sticking straight out, and they're going to be like that all afternoon, and it's tough.
Ron, this morning when we were talking to Jake Goda, he said in a situation like this, he said when he really needs to play, there's two things to call. What was it, the sprint out and the down and out?
Yeah, down and out. He said you got to be able to throw when you're in trouble.
Now let's see whether he does that
down
here.
and out.
The opening play of the second quarter from the 10. Into the end zone, incomplete. It was intended for R.B. Smith.
Faison maybe made the play, but Vernon Paul's the guy that did it. He got the pressure on Detilio right away because Armstead had about 2 steps on him, and he forced him to get rid of it in a hurry. But he is behind him. Or I'm sorry, not Armstead, but R.B. Smith was behind him. He didn't get it out far enough out in front.
So Vince Faison atones for that earlier miscue. It was his interference penalty that gave the Stampeders the first down at the 10. He knocks away a potential touchdown pass from R.B. Smith in the end zone. And the Stampeders are now third and goal from the 10, and J.T. Hay enters the ballgame. This contest somewhat reminiscent of that September 11th game. It was 6-0 at halftime in that game on 2 first-half field goals by J.T. Hay.
Oh, my God.
And the kick is good. It wasn't a textbook field goal, but it went between the uprights from 16 yards out, and the Calgary Stampeders lead the ball game by a score of 3-0.
Well, he kicked 6 in the last game we did, John Wells and myself up there. It wasn't pretty, as you said.
Sure
It looks like a punt. Goes almost in a spiral. Snuck inside. That's all that matters.
Well, it didn't even look like it was good, but it was good.
There he is. That's the guy that made it. We saw him in that game kick 6 field goals against the BC Lions up there one day in Calgary.
Ron, I was just going to say, down here on the sidelines, one of the spectators had a comment a second ago saying, do you get the feeling that neither one of these teams wants to play the Eskimos in that Western final?
Well, the victor this afternoon, John, certainly has a tough assignment next week, attempting to dethrone the defending Grey Cup champions and the entire Edmonton coaching staff. Here at this game this afternoon, James Murphy and Nate Johnson now go back for this kickoff by J.T. Hay. And you see what a difference the wind makes. When Hay was kicking in the other direction, they were back at the goal line. Now they're standing at their own 25.
Little problem down there with the Bombers getting lined up. They wasn't sure exactly who they were supposed to have into the game, and a little confusion. That's why the referee, the team was not set.
I think Winnipeg only had 11 people out there.
They had one standing right down here in front of the bench. But he jumped off right at the end. They weren't counting right, I guess.
Well, this fella's certainly prepared for the elements. A little late for Halloween. .26 is the time left in the second quarter. Now J.T. Hay spots the ball again at the 35. Not quite sure what the confusion was. I don't think Winnipeg was really lined up, ready for that kickoff. That ball really hangs. James Murphy takes it at the 38. Murphy fighting his way up the middle. This is the area he specialized in with Kansas City on kickoff returns. And after a 38-yard boot by J.T. Hay, James Murphy came scooting back up the middle for 21 yards.
He's a pretty tough kid, too. You'll see right here, Harris come through there and get a real crack at him. He just keeps right on going, almost breaks it into the open. Moyer made the tackle.
Those flags, just a little tattered and torn from being blown about constantly at the north end of Winnipeg Stadium. Dieter Brock loses the football. Nobody seems to know where it is. Finally, it's picked up by Rick House. And House is going to be dropped way back at the 42. Franklin King was the man who hit Winnipeg quarterback Dieter Brock.
Calgary did a great job defensively that time. They tried to cross the back coming in motion. There's a back coming in motion out there, but the inside linebacker, Calgary, just stayed right at home, and he was waiting, and Brock has to pull it down, and that gives Franklin King a chance, and that ball came loose. It's a good thing one of the Stampeders didn't see it, because he'd have had an easy touchdown.
It was strange the way that ball bounced around. Nobody seemed to know where it was.
The only referee, the referee is the only one that's seen the ball.
Looks like Small is down, and he was one of the guys that was in there putting the pressure on. He would be a big loss if he went down, because Jocko is really high on this guy.
Scott MacArthur's gone in, Don.
It looks like he's all right, though. He's jogging off.
George Small's name, something of a misnomer. 6'2", 220 pounds. There hasn't been much in the way of offense, as a 3-0 score would tend to indicate. 2nd and 24, Winnipeg. Brock having difficulty finding a receiver. Finally bobs it open to Joe Poplawski. He's all alone down at the 17.
Well, that's what happens, Don. Dieter had time to throw anything he wanted and finally scrambled out of there, and the Calgary defensive backs made a mistake and come out. Watch Dieter. He's looking all over the place trying to find somebody to throw to. Now he's going to sneak out of there, and the Calgary defensive backs come up on him, and Poplawski's smart enough to just go to the open area, and he finds him, and it's a big gain.
Boy, he laid it up there just perfect, too. Just let it go and just let Poplawski run right under it.
Ray York has to be somewhat relieved with that play. A gain of 49. It's Winnipeg. 1st and 10 from the Calgary 17. Brock in trouble again. He's going to run it this time, and he goes out of bounds. George Small missed just one play, came back in. He pressured Brock, forced him out of the pocket.
Hey, that time Murphy from his right outside receiver position run a underneath pattern to the post, and he was wide open, and Brock had an opportunity to see him.
Second and 6, Winnipeg. The ball is at the Calgary 13. 12:15 is the time left in the second quarter. Brock had better hurry. Into the end zone, intended for Nate Johnson. Terry Irvin was the man closest to the pass.
Brock isn't throwing with the same fluidness that he threw earlier in the season. I think he must still be hurt a little bit with that. They said he had a dislocated finger. And I think maybe that finger has taken a little bit of the touch off the football because he's not putting it in there like he did earlier in the season.
He isn't having a great deal of time to find those receivers either, though, Leo.
Well, you know, another thing, when you were playing on the hard ground in cold weather, your receivers don't get to those open areas as fast, and that time Johnson wasn't there when the ball went by.
Trevor Kennard will attempt to tie the game. It's good. So with a 16-yard field goal by J.T. Hay and now a 20-yard field goal by Trevor Kennard, we have a tie game at Winnipeg Stadium.
Let's face it, today's the day for 1983 Buick Skyhawk.
Now's the time, and tomorrow's looking fine.
All the elegance you'd expect from a Buick in a smaller front-wheel drive package. Sportiness that just has to be experienced. Wouldn't you really rather have a Buick Skyhawk?
I got this feeling that today's the day. I got this feeling it's a Buick day.
Take the boards and get them nailed down. You're building your deck with good friends all around. It's taking shape, looking great, you'll finish it today. Make it a Carlsberg, make it a Carlsberg, make it a Carlsberg, my friend. Yeah.
Stampeders wisely have opted to scrimmage from their own 35. Had they chosen to have Kennard kick off following that successful field goal, he could quite easily, I think, Ron, have put it in the end zone with that very strong wind at his back.
Well, he's got the strong leg. All he has to do is get it up in the air. The wind will do the rest. This is great field position to start from.
Kennard does have a strong leg. He hasn't really had great accuracy this season. He missed 4 field goals a week ago that could have given Winnipeg a first-place finish. James Sykes trying to get outside. He fumbles the football. It's still loose. Recovered by the Stampeders back at the 30.
Forbes has it, Don.
Rob Forbes, the man who pounced on that loose football. I believe they are ruling that Sykes was stopped before it bounced away at the 37.
Sykes has that same ability that Miller has. He started inside and then bounced it outside, and as he hit the ground, the ball came loose. Forbes recovered it, but they're going to give him a 2-yard gain.
The ground is not supposed to make you fumble, so may not have been a fumble.
Second and 8. Detilio is under pressure. He's going to be dropped back at the 20-yard line by Tony Norman.
Did Tony Norman show some speed right there? Detilio never had a chance. It looked like he had a chance to get out of Pete Kate and get outside of him, but Norman came from nowhere. Watch the speed on this guy. Leo, catch him.
He looked like a greyhound on those last few strides.
Well, there's a nice feeling when you get close to that quarterback to close in and make that sack. But I've noticed both Norman and Catan, both of them are coming with an outside rush. And I'm going to be surprised if somewhere here this afternoon, Jerry Detilio doesn't pull the ball down and duck up inside that rush and take it up the middle.
One of the off-season activities of Tony Norman is work in the solar energy field. We could use a little of that right now.
Maybe he could be a magician.
The third down punt bounces back toward the line of scrimmage, picked up by Paul Bennett. That draws a penalty flag. Bennett into the 15-yard line.
Boy, he knows what to do with that football when he gets it. He's got that great ability to turn the speed on into the seam right up the middle, and he doesn't waste any time.
Only a 14-yard punt, a 20-yard run back. Winnipeg with excellent field position.
Great ability to turn the speed on into the seam right up the middle, and he doesn't waste any time.
Only a 14-yard punt, a 20-yard run back. Winnipeg with excellent field position.
The remarkable Philishave with the lift and cut system. 45 rotary action blades, every one of which has a unique lifter that gently lifts the hair while the cutter behind shaves it closer. Philishave from Phillips. Now you don't have to get wet to get close.
You got your country morning and your country sports, your country kitchen and your country style.
Take your country boy and your country girl. They get their country feeling at their country style.
Now there's country freshness with the country smile. Country goodness at your country style.
Oh yeah, country style, country style. Coffee and donuts, pressure by a country mile. Country style.
Well, at halftime this afternoon, the CFL in action with Brian Williams. Highlights of the Eastern semifinal this afternoon, as well the coaches' Western All-Star team. Some interesting selections and choices by the 9 CFL coaches, all coming up at halftime this afternoon when we get warmed on.
John, it looks just a little chilly down on those sidelines. Perhaps you can sneak over to that Bomber bench for a brief respite and enjoy some of the warmth of that propane heater.
I'll try.
Winnipeg 1st and 10 from the 15. Good protection for Brock. The pass into the hands of James Murphy and out again.
Terry Irvin almost picked that off, too.
Irvin right in the chest. He went down all by himself, and Brock looked off to the left and then went back to him, and he ran a sideline cut and then turned around into what turned out to be a curl, but it was thrown on the wrong side of him. It would have been a great catch if he caught it. It's the kind of a pass that when it's deflected off of you, if that defensive back is close enough, might be an interception.
2nd and 10, Winnipeg from the Calgary 15. 9:38 is the time left in the half. The score is tied at 3. Rick House makes a circus catch inside the 5.
There's a case right there of the same kind of a pass being thrown, only House turned around in an acrobatic fashion and just made the catch. Fantastic. You see Dieter coming out here, and watch House now turns against the grain, back against the grain, and makes the catch. Now that's just great body control.
Rick House, the Shenley nominee for the Outstanding Canadian Award. He'll be going against Rocky DiPietro of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 1st and goal, a handoff to William Miller. He gets to the line of scrimmage and no further. Doug Battershill was the first to make contact, and Battershill is enjoying a fine ball game. He has played well throughout the entire season.
Going to take a look at him again. He's just trying to find anything he can find, but Battershill gets a hold of him, slows him up. Then Harris shows up with a little help from Bass and his friends, and he actually loses about a yard or so, a little bit, half a yard.
2nd and goal, Winnipeg from the 5. Into the end zone, Dan Hucklock, touchdown.
Well, you see Doug Battershill complaining about being picked on that play. There's nothing he can say because that was a well executed.
Well, this certainly seems to be the year of the pick in the Canadian Football League. Every team has been using it successfully, even though it can be construed as being illegal, but watch it again.
Battershill actually ran into Odom, but right in front of him was Murphy, so there was no way Battershill could get out there to cover Hucklack. He goes in easy.
Well, they brought everybody in motion to the right, including Rick House from his left slapback position. He blocked over there and gave Brock the time he needed to get Huckluck out of the backfield to the left.
Well, the big run back by Paul Bennett set the stage for that one, and the 5-yard touchdown strike to Dan Hucklack moves Winnipeg in front for the first time. They lead at 10-3 with 8:19 left in the half.
Outer space. The icy cold that invades your home because you lower your thermostat to save money. Result? Inner space can become unlivable. Conquer this problem with a portable kerosene heater. Precision designed and safety tested to the highest technical standards and 99.9% fuel efficient. 99.9%. Kerosene brings back comfort to inner space for a price that's bound to work.
For the name of a dealer near you, call toll-free 1-800-268-8084. Confidence is why more and more Canadians are coming to Firestone for car care. They're confident that work done by our brake specialists will be done right at a cost that holds no surprises. They have confidence in our tune-ups and know that when we say their car will be ready, it will be. Even if all you need is an oil change, you're always welcome to relax in our comfortable lounge and have a coffee on us. North American or import car, come to Firestone for car care. You'll drive with confidence.
The National, Canada's #1 television newscast, tonight at 11:30 in Newfoundland on CBC television.
Bobby slipped.
Dan Hucklack, acquired by Winnipeg from BC in 1980, primarily for his blocking skills. But he was the receiver on the go-ahead touchdown for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as Trevor Kennard kicked off. It sails into the end zone, and it will roll through the end zone. I don't believe that R.B. Smith, who came over attempting to catch that ball, touched it. So that means it will come out to the 25-yard line. Jack Goda wearing his lucky hat.
He's also got his son Jake with him again. Last time they were here, they won 15-11. It was Jake's birthday. He brought him down. They won. I think he's here because of the good luck charm.
Yeah, Jack's not too superstitious.
I think he must have polished off about 25 cups of coffee this morning.
Oh,
without a doubt. There is no doubt about that. I think I had 15 with him.
First and 10 from the 25. James Sykes finding no running room as he tries to go up the middle. Leo Ezerins came in to plug after the initial contact had been made by Aaron Brown.
Well, John Helton closed it down right there and forced him outside, and Ezerins was standing there waiting. There was just nowhere for him to run.
The pickup of 3, it will be 2nd and 7.
All right, watch John Helton. He sees it coming. Now, watch him go down inside. That forced him out, and there's Ezerins with no one to block him. Pretty hard to run when you got a linebacker standing there free.
John Helton, the veteran of this Winnipeg team, 2-time Shenley Award winner. Pretty hard to fool. On 2nd and 7, DeTilio finds Armstead right at the 35. That should be a first down. Aaron Brown made the tackle. 7:12 is the time left in the half. Again, we remind you, at halftime, the highlights of the Eastern semifinal. Ottawa 30-20 over Hamilton. The lucky charm for the Calgary Stampeders, Jake Gotta, standing at that Calgary bench.
He's just like his father. He's an old ham.
You know what he does? He keeps track of the defenses for Coach Roach over there. He stands beside him, writes them down on the paper. Jack said the last time he wanted to call them. He felt he knew which ones were the best.
DeTilio throwing deep, looking for Alexis. Oh no, he was in behind Charles Williams. That was a difficult catch, an over-the-shoulder type of reception, but he had it in his hands.
That was a great throw. It looked like when he let it go, it was overthrown, and the wind held it up perfect for him to catch it in stride. He just goes down, turns outside.
Now watch him here. It goes right through his arms. He starts to the outside. He heads for the track, and he's saying, "Where's the exit? Let me out of here."
Well, that's well thrown. It looked like it was overthrown, Leo, when it took off, and it got up there and just hung just to make it easy. Nice picture there. That's what hurts.
Look at the reaction of all those players standing at the Winnipeg bench. One huge sigh of relief.
Jack Goda was saying this morning that when they drop the pass and he's looking in the films, he calls it a suitcase play. One more like that and you're packed your suitcase.
Willie Armstead won't have to worry about packing any suitcases. He's been a big receiver this year for the Stampeders. However, he is stopped short of the first down. Vince Faison was there to make the tackle.
First time in his career, he's over 1,000 yards this year for the Calgary Stampeders. He was the big play man early, and when they got R.B. Smith in the lineup, it's given him a little bit of breathing room because they can't double him all the time.
Third down, Calgary. Goda sends in the punting unit.
Well, it happened right in front of the Calgary bench. Goddard has the opportunity to look at it.
That have been completed this afternoon by Calgary. 3 of them have gone to Willie Armstead.
He went down there, and Paul bumped him a little bit, turned him to the outside. The corner come up and made the play. That's how it should be done.
Paul Bennett trying to find some blocking assistance. It does not materialize, and he is stopped at the 41-yard line. A 28-yard punt by Mike McTagg, and Darrell Toussaint dropped Paul Bennett right at the 41. We talked about John Helton, the veteran of this Winnipeg team. This could very well be his last season in professional football. He's been around for 14 years. In 72 and 74, he was a Shenley Award winner. Big John would certainly like to go out on a winning note. Brock complete to Nate Johnson. He gets away from one man. He does quite a job in turning that into a sizable gain to the of the Stampeders. Ray Odoms finally took Nate Johnson out of bounds.
I like this guy, Don. There's nothing fancy about him, but every time he touches the ball, things happen. Watch this. Bang, away from Toussaint. Now he's got some great speed. Odoms just gets him by the shirt and pulls him out. Opening kickoff, they kick to Johnson. He brings it back. I mean, the guy is something.
Yeah, but did you say there's nothing fancy about him?
Not that play. He just went down around a hook, catches the ball, and then tries to run for a touchdown.
That was a pretty good escape out of that tackle.
Draw play with William Miller. That was a pickup of 24 yards on the pass to Nate Johnson. George Small is there to stop Miller after a pickup of about 1 yard. Let's remind you that this program is copyrighted and is strictly for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, retransmission, or exhibition in whole or in part without the express written consent of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation is strictly prohibited.
How about you're going to let me read that today?
Next week. 2nd and 9. Down the sidelines, intended for Johnson. Johnson protesting that he was bumped by Ray Odoms. However, the play did not draw a flag as Johnson had hoped it would, and it will be 3rd and 9 Winnipeg. Trevor Kennard comes into the field goal, or into the ball game to attempt the field goal.
They try to run a stop and go on Odoms, but he doesn't have much room to get by him. That's good defense by Ray Odoms. He has the sideline as an extra defender there. He just wouldn't let him by him.
Pretty tough to throw when you've got Ed McElhaney in your face as well.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, that McElhaney, he's tougher than Japanese arithmetic.
46-yard field goal attempt by Kennard is wide. It will go through the end zone for a single point.
I don't know about it.
3:58 is the time left in the half. 11-3. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers now lead. Kennard this year successful on only 27 of 52 attempts. He has been struggling this season after having 2 very good years in kicking the ball for Winnipeg. Stampeders, as a result of that single point, take over at the point of last scrimmage. And that was the 39. 3:45 left in the half. McIver was after DeTilio. He got it away to Sykes. And Sykes is forced out of bounds at the 52. That will be a Calgary first down.
Very fortunate to get rid of that because McIver got through there a little faster than he wanted. That's a little check or a delay type of pattern to Sykes, but boy, DeTilio didn't have the time he'd like to have on that.
Alexis comes out wide to the right. R.B. Smith, the man in motion. He's the receiver as they set up that screen to the left side, and very close to a first down for Calgary as they penetrate the Winnipeg 47. 3:08 is the time left in the half. We have a timeout at Winnipeg Stadium with the Blue Bombers leading the Stampeders 11-3.
Well, you gotta have good parts and dependability for starters. You gotta go Delco, you're talking AC Delco. Yeah. Quality's amazing and the prices are convincing, oh yeah. You gotta go Delco, you're talking AC Delco. From spark plugs to shocks, you know what all the talk's about, like batteries and built. I'll see you later, alligators.
some work, but you finally got it done. Seen it through, got your style, good friends make it all worthwhile. Make it a Carlsberg, make it a Carlsberg, make it a Carlsberg, my friend. Yeah.
Well, regardless of the outcome this afternoon or what might transpire over the balance of the season, Jack Goda has done quite a job with the Calgary Stampeders in this 1982 campaign.
Well, he sure has. For a team that wasn't expected to get to the playoffs, here they are. He's done a great job.
He's a lot like Brancato. He creates an atmosphere that's conducive to winning and to having fun.
Jerry DiTilio on 2nd and 1 picks up the first down as he gets to the Winnipeg 40-yard line. So with 2:51 left in the half, the Stampeders keep their drive alive.
Got the little play action fake. Now he wants outside. He's got some receivers going downfield, but if they cover them, then they have a guard in front of him. He's got to have room to run. He gets his first down and says bye-bye.
Well, it's the scrambling ability of Jerry DiTilio that has really helped the Stampeders in the past couple of weeks. From the 40, 1st and 10. DiTilio throwing deep, nobody there. That was about 10 yards past Mike McTagg.
I think he anticipated McTagg going deep, and he didn't do it. He hooked it up and stopped, and the ball goes over his head. You know, it's a funny thing with DiTilio, he's been criticized a lot for his interceptions, which he does lead the league and stuff early, but you know, in his last 130 passes, he's only had 2 intercepted, and I think that's the key because they've been big games for the Stampeders, and he's played well in the games that they've had to win.
David Amer comes into the ball game as Mike McTagg goes to the bench. It will be 2nd and 10 Calgary. The ball is at the Winnipeg 40.
If they can stop the inside pressure by Helton and McIver, the way that Ketan and Norman are coming on the outside rush, Jerry's going to step up inside and do some running yet this afternoon.
DiTilio gets it away to Amer. He is caught. Good defensive play by Charles Williams. An alert play by Charles Williams. He was moving up on David Amer before DiTilio got that pass away.
Well, he really didn't want to have to throw that ball to him. He wanted outside, but they got him contained right here, so he has to get rid of it. As soon as that ball's in the air, watch number 20 coming. He's right on top of him just as the ball arrives. That's excellent defense.
This is something that Leo McKillop was telling us yesterday, that Charles Williams has been playing much sounder football in the last couple of games. He missed most of the season because of an injury, and really in his first game back, he had a lot of problems.
Who did he face?
Terry Greer.
Terry Greer. That can give you problems.
Nate Johnson on the punt return. Oh, he was just tripped up. Lloyd Fairbanks made the contact with Nate Johnson. He had a hole open ahead of him, and Nate Johnson is still down on one knee. But apparently he's okay. They did not send out any medical help for Nate Johnson, so he remains in the ball game with the Winnipeg offensive unit with 2:14 left in the half. The Blue Bombers at their own 33. William Miller started up the middle, then tried to go outside.
Tackled by Bump. His own center, I think, made the tackle on that play.
I think he might have tripped over Frankie Smith as well.
Frankie Smith made a great block on Ed McElhinney, and it was just kind of a soft. They both hit the ground, and when he came back and tried to cut, there was nowhere to go. He tripped over his own man.
McElhinney has been a tower of strength for the Stampeders defensively this season. Played some at defensive tackle, but most of the year as a defensive end. On 2nd down, deep for Johnson. He makes the catch at the 38. Darrell Smith made the hit on Nate Johnson.
He just tries to take a seam. He's going straight up the field deep, and the ball's thrown. Dieter lays it in there. Watch the hit he takes. Nice catch. Darryl Moyer's coming over. I'm sorry, that's the other defensive back, Smith, and he caught him really good and dropped him. That's why he's slow getting up. He took an awful hit right there, Leo.
Caught him right under the chin with the forearm, and there's no way in the world that'll soften you up sooner than that. Boom.
A 41-yard gain on that Nate Johnson reception. Twice now when the Bombers have been back in their own zone, Brock has come up with big plays. First the pass on 2nd and long to Poplawski for a gain of 49, and now 41 yards to Nate Johnson.
Ronnie, I was just talking to the veteran trainer of the Stampeders, Alec Resky, about cold weather football. The day he remembers most is 1968, the Western Final in Saskatchewan, is the coldest he's ever been on the sidelines for.
I think it was 1970 was the coldest. The day they won the Western title on the last play field goal, the coldest day I ever remember.
Larry Robinson kicking it into the wind.
You got to bring
an
that
almost
up,
impossible field goal to beat the Saskatchewan Roughriders at Taylor Field. John Konahowski has replaced Nate Johnson in the Winnipeg offensive unit. With a swing pass to William Miller, he gets one block and should have another first down. Darrell Smith came in to make the stop on William Miller with 1:24 left in the half. Konahowski goes out, Nate Johnson goes back in. Winnipeg at the 28 of the Stampeders, 1st and 10. Johnson comes out wide to the left. Wide open is Rick House, 1st down at the 12-yard line.
Go ahead, Leo.
On that play, Ron, I watched Rick House all the way. He came in motion from the right, back over the left, looked like he was going to block, and then went off the line of scrimmage and looked for the ball immediately. And he was covered pretty well by a linebacker, but worked into the open spot and got himself open, and Brock found him.
A gain of 16 yards. Winnipeg had concerns that Rick House would even play this afternoon. He has been very ill with the flu for the past couple of days. He did not attend the pregame meal this morning. And as late as 2 hours ago, they had doubts about him playing. The pass into the end zone intended for Murphy, incomplete. 42 seconds the time left.
I don't think you worry about House. He's going to be there. I don't think it matters how he'd have felt. He'd have been out there today. He wasn't the primary receiver on that pattern. Calgary covered the 2 guys that Dieter was looking for. So House just went down there and found a hole and says, if he gets in trouble, I'll be here.
Well, the fans at Winnipeg Stadium have been enjoying proceedings for most of the game so far. And with 42 seconds left on the clock, Winnipeg faces a 2nd and 10 situation from the 12. Touchdown! James Murphy!
They've been working on that all afternoon on that post pattern, and they finally got it to him. Here it is, right. Brock goes straight back, goes down from the right side and just runs the post pattern right into the middle. And Murphy has been in there 2 or 3 times uncovered, and Brock has been rushed and hasn't been able to get him the ball. But that time he had the time to get it to him, throw it in there perfectly for the score.
So the Blue Bombers, with 38 seconds left in the half, increase their advantage to 14 points, and Trevor Kennard will attempt to make it 15. He does.
That was a big touchdown. You know, talking to Coach Goda today, he wanted to be close at halftime. You don't want to get into a shootout with the Bombers when they got Brock and all these receivers. He wanted to be close at halftime, feel he could come back, and they scored the touchdown with 30-some seconds on the clock and gives them a pretty good lead. That was a big, big touchdown for the Bombers.
Well, we talked earlier about all the receivers the Winnipeg Blue Bombers had in camp in an effort to find a replacement for Eugene Goodloe, who was injured in that August 20th game against the Stampeders at McMahon Stadium. 14 have been invited to camp. 6, as I said at the start of the telecast, have worn a Winnipeg uniform this season. And Jack Goda might agree with the assessment Ray Yauch came up with yesterday that James Murphy might be the man that the Bombers have been looking for.
Well, if he can play on a day like today in your first game and hold on to the football, that's a big plus, and it shows you that the guy can play when it's cold, and that's one of the prerequisites in this league.
Now, one thing that's a little bit coincidental is that it looks like it's going to be 18-3 going here at halftime. Over East it was 17-3, but we know what happened on that.
Yes, the Ottawa Rough Riders certainly staged a big second half comeback. Ken Shanconi made the tackle on R.B. Smith at the 34-yard line. A 64-yard kickoff by Trevor Kennard. And a run back of 32. 33 seconds, the time left in the half. And again, we remind you at halftime, we'll be showing you highlights of Ottawa's Eastern Conference semifinal upset of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. James Sykes attempting to get outside. He has a gain of about 3 yards with 28 seconds now remaining in the half. I think the Stampeders at this particular juncture quite happy to head to the dressing room and regroup.
Like their sprint draw series. Sykes wants inside. Now he's just going to run where he can. But the guy that makes the tackle here, Aaron Brown, Coach Leo McKillop yesterday talking about him, really is impressed with the play of that man.
Aaron Brown made his debut as a middle linebacker for Winnipeg on Thanksgiving Day against the Toronto Argonauts. James Sykes again, and he is stopped short of the 40-yard line with 6 seconds left. John Helton was the man who made the tackle.
Well, it's just 6 seconds left in the half. I'd like to say thanks to Vic Rapp for the things that he did for us when he was coaching the BC Lions. And I think he was a darn good football coach.
Behind the bench of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on November 28th, this man, Jack Gouda, also has designs of standing behind a bench at CNE Stadium in Toronto on the 28th of November.
And there's a couple guys down at the end of the booth that have a special designs too. One of them is Huey Campbell.
Yes, there are 5 members of the Edmonton coaching staff in attendance this afternoon. Mr. Gaines, Mr. Matthews, Mr. Lemmerman, Mr. Murphy, and the head man, Hugh Campbell. The kick off the side of McTagg's foot. Penalty flag as Reggie Pearson takes the ball at the midfield stripe. A no yards assessment will go against the Calgary Stampeders, and with that penalty, the Blue Bombers will get one more play before the half. And Trevor Kennard is already on the field.
41. First down.
Mark Moores had encroached upon that 5-yard area, and now Winnipeg will attempt to add 3 more points before the half ends as Trevor Kennard comes into the ball game. That's something Jack Gouda did not want to happen.
No, you don't want that to happen at all.
You don't think they'd fake it here, do you, Don?
You've been talking about that all season. I hardly think so. A 47-yard attempt will be upcoming by Trevor Kennard. He's got the length. It's good. Well, that will certainly give Trevor Kennard and his teammates a boost, and you see them coming out to congratulate Kennard on his success to end the first half. It's 21-3 here. Now for highlights of that Eastern semifinal, Ottawa and Hamilton, here's Brian Williams. Highlights of the past 30 years of television coverage. Ron Lancaster and Leo Cahill and I will take an analytical look at the 2 teams that will be competing in the Grey Cup game. Of course, in the East, it's been reduced to 2, Ottawa and Toronto, 3 still alive in the West. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Edmonton Eskimos have more hope right at this juncture than do the Calgary Stampeders, but the Stampeders are still in it. Statistically, Jerry DiTilio had some problems in the first half, although one pass that was dropped by Alton Alexis when he was in behind the defender could have changed the complexion during the first 30 minutes.
Boy, that's for sure. You know, when you get into the sudden death, everybody likes sudden death games. They're great to play in because there's no tomorrow. Just go out and have fun and play the game. And when you throw a ball that well against the wind and have it right on the button, you don't expect it to be dropped. And those plays like that are key plays in any game.
Alex, like we talked about at breakfast this morning, Jack Gouda said that's a suitcase play. Drop one more like that and your suitcase is back.
You're right. He's exactly right.
While we have an opportunity, Leo, you made a very quick reference to Vic Rapp, who was recently released as head coach of the BC Lions. Vic is probably looking in this afternoon. I talked to him by telephone the other night, and we would just like to publicly thank Vic for all the cooperation we received from Vic during his 6 years as head coach of the British Columbia Lions.
I tried to call him, Don. I had the wrong number. But anyway, he has been very cooperative with us. We think he did a heck of a job out there in BC. And
He sure did. He's a good football coach, and I'm sure that he'll get a job someplace else if he wants to.
Alton Alexis on the return, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are fired up as they start the second half of this ball game. Milson Jones was the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and the Edmonton Eskimos have more hope right at this juncture than do the Calgary Stampeders, but the Stampeders are still in it. Statistically, Jerry DiTilio had some problems in the first half, although one pass that was dropped by Alton Alexis when he was in behind the defender could have changed the complexion during the first 30 minutes.
boy, that's for sure. You know, when you get into the sudden death, everybody likes sudden death games. They're great to play in because there's no tomorrow. Just go out and have fun and play the game. And when you throw a ball that well against the wind and have it right on the button, you don't expect it to be dropped. And those plays like that are key plays in any game.
Alex, like we talked about at breakfast this morning, Jack Goda said that's a suitcase play. Drop one more like that and your suitcase is back.
You're right. He's exactly right.
While we have an opportunity, Leo, you made a very quick reference to Vic Rapp, who was recently released as head coach of the BC Lions. Vic is probably looking in this afternoon. I talked to him by telephone the other night, and we would just like to publicly thank Vic for all the cooperation we received from Vic during his 6 years as head coach of the British Columbia Lions.
I tried to call him, Don. I had the wrong number. But anyway, he has been very cooperative with us. We think he did a heck of a job out there in BC.
And he sure did. He's a good football coach, and I'm sure that he'll get a job someplace else if he wants to.
Alton Alexis on the return, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are fired up as they start the second half of this ball game. Milson Jones was the man downfield to make contact. You know, and looking back to that September 11th game, it was a kickoff return by Alton Alexis that got the Stampeders off to a good start. He had a run back of about 74 yards.
Well, they needed it there because they got to get something going. The last few minutes of that second quarter were really big ones for the Bombers. They scored a touchdown and got the field goal in the last play. That's a big thing. Calgary's got to get something going early because they're down a lot of points.
Stampeders have the wind advantage to start this third quarter. Good catch by Willie Armstead. There's also a penalty flag on the play.
That was a great catch, too.
He was tackled by Reggie Pearson. It was interesting that flag went flying in the air, and Jack Gouda caught it at the Calgary bench.
Well, he always had good hands. Watch his catch. He makes the catch, but look at the face mask right there. He's got a hold of him.
No doubt about that
Major
call.
foul, number 8, Winnipeg, face mask. First down.
Well, there's no question that if Calgary takes that ball downfield and goes in there and gets some points, that they're going to be back in this football game.
Reggie Pearson guilty of that violation, and the Stampeders are now 1st and 10 from the Winnipeg 51. A quick start here in this third quarter would certainly rejuvenate Calgary hope. Alton Alexis is brought down at the 44 by Charles Williams.
Alexis caught that ball out there. All the motion went the other way, and he got a one-on-one situation, but there was 2 blue shirts waiting out there for him. Nobody got out there in time to block.
Pushed him out of bounds.
Second and 3.5 for the Stampeders. James Sykes trying to get outside. Penalty flags fly as Sykes is bounced out of bounds by Reggie Pearson, but there were 2 flags on the play. It appears as though there will be a holding call against the Stampeders.
Well, Tony Norman certainly thinks so. He came over and signaled to Coach Jacques.
Holding, Calgary, number 56.
That's on Harold Krebs' son.
Tom Krebs, the offensive center, guilty of the holding infraction.
I coached his daddy, and I talked to the offensive line coach with the Calgary Stampeders, and he told me that this kid is going to be probably the best center in the West. Really pleased to hear that.
So it's now 2nd and 13, Calgary. The pass was deflected at the line of scrimmage. I'm not sure, but I believe John Helton may have got his hand up in front of that throw by Jerry DiTilio.
Well, it was deflected. There's no doubt about it. Paul Bennett was in excellent position to pick it off or at least knock it down. He really wasn't open. Well, I'll tell you, the guy I liked was Armstead down at the bottom, but you see Paul Bennett, he reads the Tilio. He starts dropping back, and now he's heading over there. He's in pretty good position.
Mike McTagg stands back at the 40-yard line for this third down punt. Good high kick. Paul Bennett fumbles the ball back at the 2-yard line. And look at this return. All the way to the 49. A 51-yard kick by Mike McTagg and a run back of 46 by Paul Bennett. And what a job he has done on that punt return unit. We'll be back right after this.
Chevy's #1 and determined to keep it that way. Chevrolet, taking charge with a North American 5-passenger sedan that gives you this much room with this much mileage and does it at a new, lower manufacturer's base model price. The 5-passenger, high-technology, front-wheel drive Celebrity, the new generation sedan by Chevrolet. #1 is taking charge.
Carlsberg Light. All right. People here say it's one good beer. Carlsberg Light. All right. Cold as ice. It's one real good beer. Crack a cold one now and see. Why, it's that light, refreshing taste for me. Carlsberg Light. All right. Raise a cheer for good beer.
Well, at the start of the game, Nate Johnson had a big return out to midfield. This time, Paul Bennett, for the first time, the Bombers gets it, breaks through after dropping the punt, gets a pretty good block from Faison, gets outside. What I like right here, he didn't run out of bounds. He's just going to decide, I'm going to go right to the goal line, cut back inside, took a pretty good hit, but great field position.
94 punt return yards for Paul Bennett this afternoon. His work on the special teams has been one of the big differences in this ballgame. There's a penalty flag as William Miller gets outside. He'll be very close to a first down. But there was a flag in the Winnipeg backfield, and that usually indicates offensive holding.
I think you're going to get an illegal procedure. I think Bobby Thompson, the left tackle, pulled before the snap. I think you're going to get him for procedure.
Just wanted to get a little advantage to get out there in front.
I think you're right, Ron. I think it is going to be a procedure call. The options being explained to Ed McElhaney, and now let's listen to Ross Perrier.
Illegal procedure, number 61, Winnipeg.
Good
down
call.
repeated.
And it's kind of tough to hide when you're 6'8", 310 pounds.
Everybody can do it. Watch that left tackle move before the snap. Let's see if we can see him. There he goes. He got the early
Looked
jump.
pretty close, Ron.
You got to have quick eyes to see that. That referee was right on top of it, Leo.
With Paul Bennett, I think he has 94 yards already this afternoon. You don't know whether in our Carling O'Keefe game player, whether you pick him offensively or defensively, but he's got to get some consideration.
So it's 1st and 20, Winnipeg. The Bombers back at their own 44. Draw play with William Miller. He's brought down at the 48-yard line. 12:06 is the time left in this third quarter. Winnipeg leading by a score of 21-3. Franklin King made the tackle. Calgary operating from that 3-4 defense. George Small, Randy Troutman, and Ed McElhaney, the three up front, with King and Battershill outside. Bass and Wayne Harris, the men in the middle. Quick pass to Rick House. Darrell Moyer grabs him at the midfield stripe, short of the first down by about 3 yards.
Just a conventional sideline cut there, but watch Rick House. Darrell Moyer gets a hold of him, then two other white shirts come over there. Harris, and it looks like Odom, and he's still on his feet. He's a tough kid.
Bob Cameron punting into the wind. And the Bombers, I'm sure, would be quite content to play the Stampeders to a standoff in this third quarter and then have the wind advantage heading home. Another good kick. Kruger goes back to his own 20-yard line, and Cameron has been kicking well into that wind. 36 yards, the length of that Bob Cameron third down punt.
Don, you remember, everybody remembers George Reed, old teammate of mine in Saskatchewan for so many years, where, you know, he has a foundation for the handicapped, and he's got a promotion going on right now all through the province of Saskatchewan. It's called Light of Light for the George Reed Foundation. Campaign began November the 15th, runs through the December 24th, and any donations to support this program will surely be appreciated in that province. They're going to light up a lot of lights in Saskatchewan.
I'm sure they are, and George Reed has certainly done a lot of very fine work for charitable organizations throughout the province since his retirement. Incomplete pass. It will be 2nd and 10.
I got a little bit lucky there, Leo. I thought that was going the other way.
Yeah, so did I. That same George Reed has turned off a couple lights when he was playing.
Yeah, he did do that, Leo. He sure did.
I still think one of the amazing stories about George Reed, despite all the yards and all the touchdowns, the season he played a good portion of the year with a broken bone in his leg.
It took him about 8 games to find it.
R.B. Smith trying to get that first down. He's going to be stopped well short. Wiley Turner and several other Blue Bombers went for R.B. Smith and stopped them about the 29-yard line.
Well, they're hoping he's going to break one of those before long, but to be honest with you, Don, I think they're going to have more success throw that on first down. Because they can take 6 yards on first down, then they can come back on second. But, boy, they've got to get things going right now because Winnipeg has got things in control right now.
The tag stands back at his own 15-yard line. Paul Bennett and Nate Johnson, the punt return pair. Bennett takes it again. Not as much yardage as last time, but still, the Bombers will have good field position for their next offensive series with 10:03 remaining in the third quarter. They'll be scrimmaging 1st and 10 from their own 48 when we return.
Canada's great Columbia ice fields. Until this year, the only way you could drive up here was in this bus on steel tracks. But here's something new on the mountain. Tires. Goodyear tires. Because if ever a job called for Goodyear engineering, for Goodyear quality and innovation, this is it. When you buy Goodyear radios for your car, remember the ice fields. Goodyear, we want you to have the best radial tires in the world.
Now, Braun challenges your face with the perfect trial offer. Test the world's #1 foil-head shaver on your face for 30 days. If you think anything else comes close to Braun, we'll give you back your money. Braun with 30 double-tempered steel blades with a micro-thin flexible foil and a 3-year limited warranty. Braun, designed by perfectionists for perfectionists. Agree in 30 days or your money back from Braun.
After this afternoon, just one more weekend remains in Canadian football. The league finals next weekend in Toronto and in Edmonton. The Argos and the Ottawa Rough Riders, the Eskimos, and the winner here this afternoon. And in both Toronto and Edmonton, still good seats available for the finals in the East and the West Division next Sunday afternoon.
Yes, John, and there are lots of seats available here at Winnipeg Stadium. They've just announced the crowd count, 20,894, the smallest crowd of the year in Winnipeg. Draw play with William Miller. Couple of blocks develop, and Miller drives into Calgary territory at the 43-yard line.
Ooh. Crowd may be small, Don, but it's getting very vocal as this game progresses.
Well, I think they have to be noisy in an effort to stay warm.
I don't know if you can see after William Miller comes down here and finishes up on this run, Frankie Smith, number 56, comes in there and undresses somebody. No, you can't see it right here.
I'll tell you what, that fella's been locked in a room too long without adequate oxygen.
I can tell you that. Talk about undress. A submarine on too many frozen fields.
18 yards to run by Miller on the last play. This time he'll get back to the line of scrimmage and not much more.
The play almost looked like Daryl Moyer knew where it was going before the ball was snapped. He left his safety position and went up and lined up outside and waited on it.
William Miller, a former Rookie of the Year and Shenley Award winner, still unsigned. However, the Blue Bombers hope to renegotiate his contract.
Well, with 3 rushers over 1,000 yards, and he's one of them, I think he's better hurry up and get his name on that dotted line before he gets away.
2nd and 10, Winnipeg. 8:46, the time left in the 3rd quarter. Brock with good protection. Wide open is Rick House on the sideline. And Rick House gets inside the 10. He's stopped by Darrell Toussaint at the 7-yard line. Every time the Bombers have been in a key situation, it seems, this afternoon, they have gone to Rick House. That was for a gain of 37.
That was a very funny play. Nate Johnson took off down the sidelines and took 2 people with him, and House went down the field and stopped, and then just went right out into the flat, and it was wide open.
Nobody there.
You can see Johnson at the top. Watch him clear the area. Look at House.
He's as open as a white goat on a mountain.
There we go. All right, Leo.
And watch him. You can't knock him off his feet. You just can't knock this kid off his feet.
Back to the live action. 1st and goal, Winnipeg from the Calgary 7. The ball is fumbled by Brock. Calgary, I believe, has recovered.
Sure have.
Yes, they have. Franklin King comes up with that football. So a big turnover for the Calgary Stampeders as Franklin King comes up with the football down at the 9-yard line.
Well, just a little problem with the exchange. Boy, when that happens, down there with a chance to put it in the end zone, you sure hate to see that if you're a Winnipeg fan, but Calgary's got to be excited.
And Dieter Brock, as tough as he is, when you go head-to-head with somebody like King, you're going to lose.
I think anytime you get a quarterback and 2 defensive linemen fighting for the ball, I'll bet on the defensive linemen.
You got that right.
I think you got a chance to be right there.
1st and 10, the Stampeders at their own 9. McIver is after DeTilio. He got the pass away to Armstead. He is brought down at the 17. Franklin King, the man who scooped up that loose ball out of the University of Kansas. 6'1", 257 pounds.
Jack Goda's very high on him. He says that he can come on the outside on the rush, and he's also got the strength to play off those big offensive tackles and change directions and come on the inside on the seal. And it's a real advantage when you get a guy that can do both and have the speed that he has.
2nd and 3 for the Stampeders. James Sykes, I think he's going to be about a yard short. Defensive tackles Doug McIver and Aaron Brown combined to stop
Got a flag
James
down,
Sykes.
too.
There was also a flag on the play. Wiley Turner indicates that it is a procedure call against Calgary, but we'll wait for the referee to give us the official indication of what the infraction was.
You get this one, Leo? Jeff Inglis, number 51.
Left
Let's
tackle.
check him.
Illegal procedure. Calgary, number 51. Declined. 3rd down.
You have sharp eyes this afternoon, Mr. Lancaster. Jeff Inglis heading off to the Calgary bench.
Watch him right here at the bottom of the screen. See him move before the guard? Didn't matter. He wasn't made. They didn't make the 1st down anyway.
That's Mike McTagg's best punt of the afternoon. Bennett has to go all the way back to his 32-yard line. He's still fighting for yardage over there. That ball may have been fumbled in that pileup. Players scrambling for it, but the indicator is that Winnipeg has retained possession. Mike Kirkley hit Paul Bennett at the 40-yard line. But the indication from the officials is that Winnipeg did retain possession. The Calgary coaching staff was attempting to help the officials, indicating that it was their ball, but they ruled otherwise. 6:45 is the time left in the 3rd quarter. 21-3 is the score.
Looks like the people in Winnipeg are getting a little bit appreciative of their defense.
Winnipeg, number 8.
There was also a clipping violation on the return by Reggie Pearson. So the Bombers will be moved further back towards their own goal line. They will be scrimmaging from the 25. Make it the 24-yard line, 1st and 10. The Stampeders right now need a big defensive effort. Then if they could quickly put something on the board, they could make an interesting finish to this ball game. William Miller trying to get outside. There's absolutely no room for him. There were about 4 Stampeders over there closing it off, led by Randy Troutman. Feelings running rather high on the last few plays. Ed McElhaney, the bottom man in that pileup. Jerry DiTilio talking with assistant coach Jim Erkenbeck and head man Jack Goda at that Calgary bench as they prepare for their next offensive series.
They need the big effort, as you said, Don. They got to stop them, and they've got to get it in the end zone in a hurry. Because Winnipeg's getting conservative on them now. They're just moving for first downs, and they're not giving them a chance.
Draw play with William Miller again, and the Bombers are going to be forced into a punting situation with 5:52 left in the 3rd quarter. Again, Franklin King makes the tackle. William Miller, the leading rusher in the Western Conference this year. The leading rusher, of course, in the CFL, Skip Walker of the Ottawa Rough Riders, and what a performance this afternoon, 254 yards as Ottawa upset Hamilton 30-20. Another good kick by Cameron into the wind. It chases Kruger back to his own 43. The Bombers swarm all over him. A 41-yard kick by Bob Cameron. And again, we point out the fine job he has done of kicking into that wind. We'll return with Calgary's first down play right after this.
Today is the wedding of the Amato quintuplets. I'm the father of the bride, the man who has to pay for all this. For a wedding gift, I gave each of my angels the new Sony Betamax SL5000. It's the most ingenious Betamax ever created, the simplest and easiest to use. Its advanced front-loading system is just amazing, and it even has remote control and beta scan. But the real genius of this Betamax is its price.
The genius of Betamax, only from Sony.
Carlsberg Light. All right. Well, it's here, and it's one good beer. Carlsberg Light. All right. Cold as ice. It's one real good beer. Crack a cold one now and see. Why, it's that light, refreshing taste for me. Carlsberg Light. Well, all right. Well, it's here. Good beer.
Tuesday, the Fifth Estate.
Gartner.
Award-winning current affairs.
Malling.
Lucid, compelling.
McEwen.
The Fifth Estate, Tuesday.
Well, as the Calgary Stampeders prepare to scrimmage, 1st and 10 from the 45, one of the interested spectators, the head man of the Edmonton Eskimos, Hugh Campbell. Hugh, your comments on the game so far?
Well, I'm very surprised at the game so far. I really thought it would be a closer ball game. At this point, the Bombers have really dominated even more heavily than the score would indicate.
Hugh, we just saw evidence there on that last play with 3 people going after Jerry DiTilio, McIver, Pete Caton, and John Helton. They're putting more pressure on DiTilio this afternoon than we've been accustomed to seeing from them.
Yeah, the Bombers are just playing full of enthusiasm. They seem to have really bounced back from their last couple of games, and they look very, very tough.
When you and your staff come to a game such as this, watching the proceedings, are you looking for anything in particular?
Yeah, well, we're just trying to get a feel for what the teams are trying to do, look at their coverages, and check things out and see if we can pick anything up. But really, we learn most everything off the films.
Rob Forbes is on the receiving end of that Jerry DiTilio pass, and that's the first down. I would think that right now the Stampeders need something quickly, and perhaps we'll put you to work to describe this play for us.
Well, they're running out of time with the wind here, and they're throwing the ball out in the flat, and some of the plays that they probably could run even against the wind. They haven't been able to get the points with the wind in either of the quarters that they've had the wind.
Hugh, we'll invite you to stick around with us for a few minutes as we watch Attilio 1st and 10 from the 44. On the sidelines and out of bounds goes Alton Alexis at the 37-yard line. That will be a pickup of about 8.
That's really close to the same play that they tried to run for a touchdown in the first quarter that Alexis dropped. Might have made a different game out of it.
What are you doing here anyway, Campbell?
It's nervous sitting around home, so
You gotta get
traveling
out of
and
the house,
everything.
right?
That's right. Take
I don't
something.
blame you. Come on, we need to go out later anyway.
My kids were really glad to get me out of there, I'll tell you.
2nd and 2 for the Stampeders. James Sykes has the first down and more. Out of bounds at the 20, well, make it the 30-yard line. Hugh, let's talk about that Western Final upcoming, and for the past week, what have you been doing? Have you been giving the boys a few days off?
Well, we've practiced. We just didn't know who we were going to play. We've practiced, and I think we've had pretty good practices up to this point. But I would expect our intensity level to pick up quite a bit now that we'll know who we're playing at the conclusion of this game.
Another question, were you surprised at the outcome of that Eastern semifinal?
Yeah, I was. I really was. I think Ottawa has a fine team, but Hamilton's played so well the last month of the season that it's hard to imagine them not winning the game.
Well, the Ottawa Roughriders came up with a 30-20 win, so the Eastern situation has been reduced to the two teams, Toronto and Ottawa. They'll play next Sunday, and that game, of course, will be seen on CBC television. The Edmonton Eskimos will be at home to either Winnipeg or Calgary, and at the moment, it looks as though it might be Winnipeg as the Bombers lead by that margin of 21-3.
Huey, it doesn't look like Dieter Brock's suffering any ill effects from that dislocated finger and that dislocated shoulder. That sore shoulder doesn't out there this afternoon.
No, he's really throwing the ball well. Bombers have a decided advantage in these wind games because he can throw it just as well either direction. He doesn't seem to be bothered by the wind at all.
The injured player that trainer Pat Clayton is working on is linebacker Vernon Paul. And he'll have to go out for at least one play. Ken Shanconi will take his spot, and the way they're helping him off the field, it looks as though that injury could be rather serious.
You know, Huey, I don't think that I've ever seen a quarterback play better than Warren Moon has played in the last, maybe the last 8 games even, but he had a little bit of a cold hand against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. But other than that, he's really been on fire, hasn't he?
Well, he's really played well in all our games. Matter of fact, against Hamilton, we thought he played pretty well, but we didn't catch the football. We dropped 7 balls in that game, which is uncharacteristic of the Eskimos.
From just inside the 30, it's 1st and 10. DeTilio looking for Alexis. He makes the catch and then is caught by Charles Williams.
Well, Huey, before you get away from here, I'd just like to say that you guys have done an absolutely marvelous job of coming back, and it must be the most satisfying year of your coaching career.
Well, the last half of the season has certainly been a thrill, but it all is nothing right now. We're in the playoffs, and that was our goal. And then the playoffs are a new season, as George Brancato could tell you. And so we just have to play really fine football in order to have a shot at going to the Grey Cup.
Never satisfied these coaches.
Well, with 3:08 left in the third quarter, it's second 3.5 to give us to James Sykes. He should have the first down. He's inside the 20-yard line, stopped there by Tony Norman. Hugh Campbell, head coach of the Edmonton Eskimos, thank you very much for dropping by, and good luck next Sunday afternoon in that Western Final.
Thank you very much.
A measurement will be required to determine whether or not this is a first down for the Stampeders. From our vantage point, it appears as though it should be enough, and it is.
You know, Don, of all of the coaches that I've been associated with and have seen in the 20 years that I've been around Canadian football, I don't think any of them have been any more innovative or have done a better job than the guy we just talked to.
I think he's got a Grey Cup commitment written into his contract.
Yeah, it's just part of the schedule.
James Sykes again, down to about the 14-yard line.
I can hardly believe it down here on the sidelines. Nick Vistaya, number 65 of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, is in short sleeves. He hasn't put a coat on all afternoon, and it is really freezing down here. But I guess they build him tough.
He's got muscles on his muscles, hasn't he? Look at those biceps.
Anyway, the weather is not affecting that gentleman.
Well, Vistaya's from Russia, that's why.
2nd and 4. Sykes again. And James Sykes is forced out of bounds at the 3-yard line. This drive for the Stampeders started back in their own 9-yard line after the fumble recovery.
Well, Sykes just does a fantastic job, although he's got the ball in the wrong arm here. It could get pulled out when he's carrying it on that inside arm. Just does a fantastic job. Veers to the outside right here, pulls away from a defender, and just his momentum carried him out of bounds where he would have gone in for the touchdown.
2nd and goal. Stan McCallus in for Paul Bennett. Rob Forbes fights his way to about the 1. Did I say 2nd and goal? It was 1st and goal from the 3-yard line. It's now 2nd and goal from the 1.
Rob Forbes has done a tremendous job for the Calgary Stampeders as a blocker. He's catching the ball now very well coming out of the backfield, and they're using him on short yardage situations too. Jack Goat is very high on this young man, thinks he's got a great future.
This has been a great drive that the Stampeders have put together. 2nd and goal from the 1. Forbes again. No indication yet from the officials. They did drive him back. So it will be 3rd and goal, Calgary. Forbes tried to go up and over, but that Bomber defensive line threw him back. There's not much doubt about what the decision is at that Calgary bench.
Well, they're pretty crowded in there. He tries to go over the top, but Reggie Pearson's sitting right back in there waiting on it, it looks like. Got a good hit on him and stopped him, so they're still 1 yard away.
Put a little bench press on him, Ron.
3rd and goal from the 1. Sykes going outside. No, he didn't make it. They stopped him. Vince Faison was the first man to make contact with James Sykes at the 1 yard line.
I like to see that one over again because all you have to do is get that ball on that white line.
I'd like to see this one. I want to look at this one pretty close.
Here it comes.
He gets
right
outside. I think they might be right. I don't think he made it. When he hit the ground, I don't think he was there.
Let's take another look at it right here. Well, he sure did.
That's a great call. He did not make it.
You got to go with the
That
officials.
is super. I tell you, I thought he was in, but on this replay,
His
he
body
definitely
was in, but
wasn't
his arm and the ball was behind him, and the ball made contact on the green without breaking that plan.
Great call.
And on what should be the final play of the 3rd quarter, Winnipeg Blue Bombers move it up the middle for a gain of about 1. A tremendous goal line stand to finish off the 3rd quarter. 15 minutes is the time left in this semifinal.
If you run a small business, profits can get squeezed when inventory doesn't match up with production. What you need is a tool for modern times, the IBM personal computer. Not only can it help you plan ahead, it'll balance your books and give you more time to make dough. And the cost? That's the icing on the cake. Your own IBM personal computer. Call toll-free for a store near you.
Fates have in store for them because the Bombers tried to shut out the Stampeders when they had the wind at their backs, and they succeeded in doing so in both the first quarter and the third quarter. And now Winnipeg is a 2nd and 8 situation. Murphy makes the catch at the 25.
Brock threw that one. Boy, he drilled it in there.
Yeah, that looked like the old Brock on that one, and it was the same post pattern that Murphy's been running all afternoon. He just went down and just bent to the inside. Brock used the play action fake and just drilled it in there, as you say, and hit him right on the numbers.
You know, it was interesting, Ray Yawkin talking about James Murphy. He didn't get too excited. He just said, I think this young man might show you a few things tomorrow afternoon, when he was describing his abilities yesterday. William Miller fights his way to the 32-yard line. Pickup of about 6.5.
And I know Jack Goda is sure, standing over there on the sidelines right now, that Sykes got into that end zone and scored, but Fred Haywood, our ISO director, did a fantastic job on that, and there's no question in anybody's mind that's seen it that the officials made a good call on it.
Second down play for the Bombers with Nate Johnson wide left, Murphy out to the right. Brock is going to go down back at the 25-yard line. Doug Battershill got through from his linebacking position.
Brock's going to have to step up. A little play action, that's all they call. Now he'll step up, and Battershill jumps, and he pulls it down. Now he's in trouble.
I think that we're being kind of lulled to sleep by the fact that Winnipeg has got this ball game in control right now, but there's still 13 minutes and 22 seconds left, and Calgary's going to have some pretty good field position now.
Well, they need a quick one. They need a big play. Like right here, a punt return. A great punt return right now. It gets some momentum. That's touchdown when they didn't get into the end zone there. That has a depressing effect on a club. They need a big play right now.
Bob Cameron kicking with the win. Harry Kruger at the 42-yard line. Still on his feet. And then finally driven back as he got up to about the 48. That was a kick of 42 yards by Bob Cameron. And the Stampeders will be scrimmaging 1st and 10 from their own 48 when we return. 21-3 is the score.
Chevy trucks are taking charge with a dynamic new lineup of new-size trucks. The Chevy S10 Pickup, S10 Maxi Cab, and S10 Blazer. Taking charge with revolutionary Instatrack 4-wheel drive. Shift from freewheeling 2-wheel drive to 4-wheel drive high and back at any speed. Try that with Datsun or Toyota. Chevy S10. There's never been a lineup of trucks like it before. Tom Chevy trucks are taking charge.
Picture a cold, frosty mug of beer. Refreshing to the taste, with 60 calories to the bottle. But this beer is definitely different from all the regular beers and the light beers. This is Tri-Lite Extra Light. It's low in alcohol, 2.5% alcohol by volume.
Now you can see your way clear. Try Tri-Lite, the extra light tasting beer.
Tri-Lite, nobody brews it lighter.
Talked about the enthusiasm at that Bomber bench moments ago after the big goal line stand. Vernon Paul is not feeling that enthusiasm right now. He has strained knee ligaments in his left knee, and he's finished for the afternoon.
Well, the Bombers are hoping that Vernon Paul isn't finished for the season if they should advance. They, of course, like to have him in the lineup for next Sunday's Western Final against the Edmonton Eskimos. 1st and 10 Calgary from the 48. He's been a favorite target all afternoon. Willie Armstead is caught at the 52 by Reggie Pearson. Make that Rob Forbes, not Willie Armstead.
He's been a favorite target too, Don.
David Amer comes into the ball game, and Mike McTagg goes out. It will be 2nd and 5 for the Stampeders. Amer comes out wide to the right. Knocked away by Charles Williams. It was intended again for Rob Forbes.
They fooled him, Don. They rolled that corner up that time and dropped the inside halfback deep. And then when you do that, he's sitting out there waiting on that pass. And it's a good thing it was high. Watch Charles Williams. He is sitting there just waiting on this one. Because this is what they've hit Forbes on in the last couple of drives. And he's waiting on that one. Not a bad thing to do, change that defense every now and then. And I'll tell you, you get people confused.
11:52 is the time remaining in the ball game. 21-3, the Blue Bombers leading the Stampeders. Paul Bennett fields it at the 20-yard line. And he goes down at the 25. A 37-yard kick by Mike McTagg. A 5-yard return by Paul Bennett before he was tackled by Lloyd Fairbanks.
This is a true story about a truck tire. The tire's so strong, nobody really knows how far it will go. Some have gone over 300,000 miles. 300,000 miles on one set of tires. Goodyear truck radials. Remember this when you buy Goodyear radials for your car. Goodyear, we want you to have the best radial tires in the world.
The top stars are on K-Tel's hit list, an incredible double album starring Rick Springfield, Blondie, the Commodores plus Hall and Oates, Sheena Easton, double album gold from Stewart and Gaskin, Santana and Paul Davis, REO's Speedwagon. Go for the gold on K-Tel's hit list. It's in stores now.
Well, we talked earlier about the 25 years Derek Donaldson has spent with us. Fausto Belwamini, who works with us in Toronto, hasn't been around that long, but we hope that Fausto is able to get back with us next Sunday. Fausto and his wife Janet are undoubtedly looking in this afternoon, and Janet is hospitalized. We wish you a very speedy recovery. It will be 1st and 10 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at their own 25-yard line. Miller has about 3 yards, not much more. Danny Bass, the middle linebacker, halted his progress. Time now, of course, the big factor that the Calgary Stampeders are fighting.
You know, a guy that's played very well defensively at the cornerback position for Winnipeg is Charles Williams this afternoon. He's going to deserve some consideration on our Carling O'Keefe game stars.
Second down, Winnipeg. Almost picked off by Toussaint. It was intended for Rick House, and had Toussaint been able to squeeze it, he had 6 the other direction.
I looked at him today in the hotel lobby, and he is not very big. I'll tell you something, for as physical as he plays out there. But you're right, Don. He picks that one off. That might have been the big play that Calgary has to have, and they got to have it soon. They're down 18 points, and that's a long way back.
You alluded to the size of Toussaint, 6 feet, 165 pounds.
Soaking wet.
Harry Kruger is the lone punt return man back. They were going after the block. They've had some success earlier this year with Toussaint coming from the outside. He was going after it again. Kruger is stopped at the 37-yard line by Scott Flegel.
Next weekend, our CBC television cameras at CNE Stadium in Toronto for the Eastern Division Final. Toronto Argonauts will host the Ottawa Rough Riders that afternoon, and we look forward to that telecast to find out exactly who will be representing the Eastern Division in the 1982 Grey Cup. Of course, later that day, the Eskimos will be at home to either the Bombers or the Calgary Stampeders. Looking more and more like the Bombers, guys.
Yes, it is, John. They are now 10 minutes away from a berth in the Western Final against the Edmonton Eskimos. They lead it 21-3. Patilio on first down. Fires over on the far side to R.B. Smith. That should be a first down. They place the ball between the 48 and the 49, where it's 1st and 10 Calgary.
Bombers will be content to give them passes like that right now. Make them use up as much time as they can moving that ball.
Incomplete. It was intended for Willie Armstead. Aaron Brown and Reggie Pearson had both moved over to knock that pass attempt down.
They had the contain pretty well knocked down on the outside here with a couple personal interferers in front of Jerry that time. I thought maybe that he could have exercised the run on that play and made a first down on it.
Well, you know, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers had their last Grey Cup success during the Bud Grant regime. Interesting statistic. The Bombers have won just one playoff game since Bud Grant departed the scene in 1966. Alton Alexis on the sidelines has a first down.
It's been a long time between sips of champagne, hasn't it, Don, for these Blue Bomber fans and the Blue Bombers?
Indeed it has, John. I talked about the lone playoff victory for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers since '66. That, of course, was 2 years ago when Winnipeg defeated the Calgary Stampeders right here at Winnipeg Stadium.
Last time in the Western, or in the Grey Cup, was '65. Last Grey Cup was 20 years ago for these Blue Bombers.
First and 10 for Calgary at the Winnipeg 49. Swing pass to James Sykes. He is forced to cut back into the middle. His advance is limited to about 1.5 yards by Aaron Brown. 8:26 now, the time left in the ballgame.
Good job by Pete Caton right here. They try to run that little flip screen out here to Sykes. Watch him make the nice catch. But Caton's out here, and he's got him turned back inside already with Helton back there to help him. And Aaron Brown pulls him down. Don't let him outside.
Good open field tackle by Aaron, too.
2nd and 9 for the Stampeders. The ball just inside the Winnipeg 48. Long throw, incomplete. Intended for R.B. Smith. Knocked away by Vince Faison.
Just got that hand up at the last moment.
Good coverage. Excellent defense. Smith looked like he was going to get away from him, but that hand come up there at the last minute and knocked it down.
You know, this man hasn't missed a ball game since 1975.
That's not bad. There goes the race is on. They turn and look for that ball, and that left hand's up there. Just knocked it out of the way.
He's either real durable or short on money.
Well, he's been very durable. There have been games where he has had some minor hurts, but that has not prevented him from playing. This year, of course, he received All-Star recognition. Paul Bennett lets the ball roll back to the 14-yard line. What an unusual situation this is. Bennett was simply standing there, and those seconds were ticking away. That's a good play by the punt return specialist.
That's knowing your rules, Don.
We have a timeout. We'll be back after this.
The Canadian Forces Army, the career with a difference. Call us collect. We're in the yellow pages under recruiting.
You look forward to it all week long, and then you get knocked around so much you wonder why you do it. But right from the first time you played, you knew you'd found your game. And right from the first time you tried OV, we'll bet you'd found your beer.
That's why you just say OV for that great tasting beer. OV, OV, oh yeah, you just say OV.
You don't have to worry anymore, Dad. I'm gonna come and live with you and Rita.
Oh no!
It seems that nobody's wild about Harry, but they're hanging in Monday.
Statistically, the Bombers also have the edge, 284 yards. Much of it on the passing arm of Dieter Brock, who was quick for 256 yards through the air so far in the ballgame. 7:19 is the time left to play.
This is where Brock likes to rear back and throw that long one.
quite content at this moment to give to William Miller. Ed McElhaney was there to make the tackle. I don't think we'll be seeing Brock rearing back and throwing it.
He's been very, very patient the second half. He come in with the big lead, and he just kind of try to get the running game going. Throw if you have to, but let's, play conservative, because Calgary has not hurt their defense yet. The Winnipeg defense has played super football, and as long as they're playing that way, don't give them any breaks. Don't give them a chance. That's what Brock says.
In 2 regular season meetings and 1 preseason game, and so far in this playoff game, the Winnipeg defense has given up just 1 touchdown to Calgary. Miller is forced outside by Wayne Harris, and the Bombers will be forced into a punting situation again.
That was like the old Statue of Liberty, went back to pass and handed off to Miller on the reverse.
It went well last time, but not this time.
Well, the Stampeders should get the ball back around midfield, but they need something quickly. They trail by 18 points. 6:27 is the time left in the ball game.
Well, we've been saying that since the third quarter got underway. Calgary needed a big play, but Winnipeg has not allowed them to have it. And that's about all you can say about it. Winnipeg has played excellent football.
The defensive philosophy of the defensive coordinator, Leo McKillop, bend but don't break. And so far that has been the case. Kruger back to his own 45-yard line. And he is wrestled down by Ken Shantoni near midfield. That was a 51-yard kick by Bob Cameron.
It's been some time since we've watched 24 minutes of football without a point being scored. That score is the same as it was at halftime.
That guy right there, Dieter Brock's not going to be nearly as sore tomorrow. He usually takes a lot of hits when he's throwing a lot, but today he's been very conservative, and he's only taken 2 or 3. He appreciates that in cold weather.
I think he appreciates the fact that they're going to win this playoff game if they do, and that he's engineered it, because, as Don said before, their playoff wins have been few and far between.
That pass knocked down by Tony Norman. He's a little distraught. Had he been able to hang on to that ball, he had a touchdown.
Not much doubt about that. That little screen, a little slip out there, but watch 55. Well, if he gets this, he can waltz home. He's a very emotional leader of that Winnipeg defense. And he's got good size at 6'5", 245.
Yes, he has, out of Iowa State via the Minnesota Vikings in September of 1980. On 2nd and 10. This is picked off by Paul Bennett. Bennett was back there playing center field, and the pass was right in his arms. And that, for the Stampeders, could just about be the ball game.
Watch this interception by Bennett. You say he's free, but watch the block coming up. I believe it's Pearson makes on Mike McTagg right here. Just drops him, gets him outside, gives him a little bit of room to run.
Paul Bennett, a Western Conference All-Star, as the free safety. This afternoon, his biggest contribution has been as a punt return specialist. That interception could all but seal the fate of the Calgary Stampeders. William Miller got back to the line of scrimmage. He appeared to have some difficulty in hanging on to the football after taking the handoff from quarterback Dieter Brock. 4:45 is the time left. It's been a cold afternoon at Winnipeg Stadium.
Those guys on the other side of the field in the white jerseys are a lot colder right now than the blue. There's no doubt. Boy, it's a tough feeling when you're standing there looking at that clock down 18 and 4 minutes left. That's tough.
And John Wells down on the sidelines, he's walking back and forth like everything's on the square. I don't think he's cold at all.
Not a bit. It's better here than it was 2 years ago, though, guys. Remember, we had the snow and the ice and everything. Just a little bit warmer today.
Things weren't much more pleasant for the Calgary Stampeders then either, John.
The outcome was just about the same, wasn't it?
4:19 is the time left. Dan Hucklack was the intended receiver. Again, Kruger is the lone punt return man back.
They got to go after it. They've got to go after it. They don't have any choice.
Toussaint had some success earlier in the season, as did the Stampeders in blocking punts and field goal attempts. Good kick by Cameron. Kruger back at the 11-yard line. No further. Hit by John Bonk, the offensive center. A 48-yard kick by Bob Cameron, 3:52 the time left. And it's beginning to look as though it will be a Winnipeg-Edmonton Western final. Now, we talked about the Blue Bombers and the fact they have not had much playoff success. They last won a Grey Cup in 1962. The Toronto Argonauts last won a Grey Cup in 1952. Two teams who have experienced a long drought between Grey Cup drinks, but they still have two big obstacles to overcome, Edmonton and Ottawa. Alton Alexis is unable to hang on to the pass. Detilio completing 21 of 37 attempts.
Mo Simovich just give us the signal that Big John Helton was in there with his hands up.
Something Winnipeg has done more of, as we discussed with Hugh Campbell this afternoon, and we've seen in recent games, is put pressure on the opposition quarterback. The catch is made by Alexis, but he was out of bounds. So with 3:10 left in the football game, the Calgary Stampeders in a punting situation. We've got a timeout.
Just imagine yourself in an Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra, the newest version of North America's most popular midsize line. A new Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra. No other front-wheel drive car is a better reflection on you. Can you think of a better way to spend a night on the town? Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra.
Oldsmobile.
Have one built for you.
The Calgary Stampeders looking at a 3rd and 10 play with 3:10 left in the ball game. Mark Jackson warming up at the Winnipeg bench, an indicator that perhaps Ray Yawk is about to make a coaching change, taking no chances that his ace, Dieter Brock, will get injured in the final couple of minutes this afternoon.
It's a great move right there, because you never know what's going to happen to somebody, and he needs to play. Keep him playing.
What are the chances of Calgary gambling in this situation?
None. That's over then for sure.
You couldn't be more explicit, could you?
No.
Nate Johnson moving up. The ball was touched by one of the Winnipeg players. I believe it went off the heel of Charles Williams. And that was an alert move by Nate Johnson, because one of the Calgary Stampeders, who was going to be called for being inside the 5-yard area, could have pounced on that football.
He called it anyway. What's that? That was a pretty smart move right there. And an alert move by that Calgary defender, and he's got called for no yards. It's too bad.
Well, regardless of what happens, this will be the final game that Ray Yawk will be standing on the sidelines at Winnipeg Stadium. As everyone, I'm sure, is aware, he will be departing for the Washington Federals of the United States Football League at the conclusion of this season.
Well, I read the newspaper article this morning. Somebody very caustically said that Winnipeg doesn't owe Ray Yawk anything, and I think Ray Yawk can say that he's paid his dues, too.
Yeah, he sure has.
William Miller, first drop tackle, down to about the 10-yard line, very close to a first down.
Milson Jones in there finally. He got a chance to run with the football. Well, there's a guy they have a lot of hope for in the future. He was an excellent running back at North Dakota. This year he's had a kind of a learning year. He learned some good things and some bad things, but the main thing is he's getting the experience, and he's somebody that they want to be able to use in the future.
I think they're going to let him throw the running pass on this next play.
Well, we've been so used to seeing William Miller do all the work in lugging the football for Winnipeg. did not notice that Nelson Jones had moved in to replace Miller, as Yock has taken out both Miller and quarterback Dieter Brock in the final minutes of this ball game.
William Miller sitting right down by the heater. He said, I'm getting my rear end warm.
I think, as you pointed out, Don, too, that before this ball game's over, that Ray Yock, or I should say Jack Goda and his staff, have done an excellent job with that Calgary team, and they're going to be a good football team in the future.
Second and inches, and Mark Jackson keeps for the first down. 2:42, the time remaining on the scoreboard clock. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers in front, 21-3. All the scoring in this ball game occurred in the first half. When you see Ray Yock take off that headset, you'll know it's over.
There's Nick Vastaya. He's limping a little bit, and if he's limping, you know he's hurt. He's tougher than a junkyard dog.
Maybe he's cold.
He probably is cold. He's out there with those short sleeves on all afternoon.
That's good, though. You got to play in this weather. I tell you, I know Bud Grant used to talk about that. You play in November like you play in July. The same dress and everything. Otherwise, you don't feel right.
Remember one playoff game back in the Bud Grant era where all of the defensive unit, the team that was being introduced when the temperature was about minus 10 degrees, all came out in short sleeves, no gloves.
That's right, I'll tell you.
Psychologically, that might destroy the opposition.
There's a lot to be said for that. You know, it's players are creatures of habit. You get to feel a certain way in your equipment, and you start putting on extra clothing, and it bothers you.
Well, that's what Jack Noda had said. He was happy that it turned cold and they had snow in Calgary this week, so that his players would get used to it. He told them it'll be worse over in Winnipeg. Nelson Jones forced out of bounds at about the 8-yard line.
Dieter Brock on the sidelines here. Dieter, you got to feel pretty good about the way everything's gone today.
Well, things have worked out pretty good for us today, John, and I'm really happy. I think the guys really rose to the occasion today.
Cold weather football. How does it feel for you?
Well, it feels good when you're winning, man. I tell you, the ground's pretty hard and it was cold. These heaters help a little bit over here, but I think everybody was really fired up and ready to go today.
Congratulations. Great day.
Thanks, John.
John, as Ron Lancaster said earlier, it's not nearly as cold on the Winnipeg side.
That's absolutely true. You know, the Bombers heading off into that Western final next weekend have one thing to look forward to, one more playoff game and a shot at the Western Championship. But I don't think it's going to be a whole lot warmer in Edmonton next Sunday afternoon.
I understand they have had the playing field at Commonwealth Stadium covered by a tarpaulin all week. Flags all over the place. There was a holding call on the last play. Again, it appears as though the call will go against Winnipeg.
I think I see Coach Yock taking off the headset.
Yes, and the lucky hat has not been nearly as lucky this afternoon for Jack Goda on his birthday.
Illegal procedure. Winnipeg, number 53, declined. Second down.
You know, all kidding aside, it is kind of a sad thing when you look down there on the sidelines and see Ray Yock and know that this is going to be his last day on this field. And Ray came up here in 1960 as a player and went through all the growing pains of a player and then into the coaching ranks as an assistant and took that Edmonton team and developed it and has been doing a good job with Winnipeg, and this is his last game in Canada.
Mark Jackson initially was looking downfield, then had some intentions of running with the ball. He wasn't going far when George Small stepped in front of him. 2:02 is the time left as the Blue Bombers send in the field goal unit.
Watch the hit right here. He's going to take a heck of a hit. As he turns upfield, he's going to get one right there. And now watch this next one coming down low. He wasn't looking forward to that one.
Mark's a tough kid, though. He come off there. He reminds me a little bit of Bobby Lane that used to play with the Detroit Lions. He's that kind of a leader.
A 23-yard field goal attempt by Trevor Kennard. It's good. 1:44 is the time left in the ball game, and that's the first scoring of the second half.
Don, just while we have a moment, the Canadian College Football Championship is on the line next Saturday at Toronto's Varsity Stadium. UBC and Western will meet for the 1982 Vanier Cup. UBC advancing with a victory over St. Avex and Western over Concordia, so that should be a pretty good football afternoon next Saturday as well.
And John, we should also congratulate the Renfrew Trojans, who yesterday won the Canadian Junior Football Championship.
In an easy win, 46-0. I'll tell you what, that was not a bad game for them.
R.B. Smith trying to get outside. And as you said earlier, Ron, the Blue Bombers at this point quite content to give them all those short swing passes with only 1:38 showing on the clock.
Well, that should be a good game for that Vanier Cup. It's going to be held next week in Toronto. It's going to be held on the 20th in Toronto. The UBC team just annihilated St. Francis Xavier, and Western gave the University of Toronto a real bad licking. So it's going to be two good football teams playing against each other.
As South Maritimes, it didn't look as though they'd ever determine an opponent for the University of British Columbia Thunderbirds. Attilio on the bootleg. He's got the first down. Brought down by Reg Pearson. 1:14 is the time left. First down for Calgary at the midfield stripe.
Little fake. Nobody knows but him he's doing this because the guards went the other way, and he come out here and his two receivers saw him coming, then they decided they better. But he didn't tell anybody what was going on there.
Well, next Sunday, of course, on CBC television, you'll see the Eastern Final, the Toronto Argonauts entertaining the Ottawa Rough Riders. And then the following weekend, all the excitement of the Grey Cup game. Pass knocked down by Vince Faison.
Well, they had nothing out in the flat to keep Faison up there. He just kept dropping and dropping and gets his hand up there.
That entire Winnipeg secondary's had a great afternoon. They've all made some outstanding plays.
We're into the final minute of this Western Conference semifinal. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers will be advancing to the Western Final next Sunday against the Edmonton Eskimos. 2 years ago, the Bombers threw a scare into the Eskimos before going down in the second half. Off the Lexus, hit immediately by Charles Williams. Well, when Leo McKillop told us yesterday that this man's play has improved in the past couple of games, we have seen evidence of exactly that this afternoon.
This is not a bad hit. He read this one coming, and watch this hit. Bang. Ooh.
Leo McKillop has done a tremendous job with that secondary, as we referred to all afternoon. Former Notre Damer.
Charles Williams took the worst of that hit that he put on Alton Alexis.
And watch McIver. McIver's going to hit Attilio just as he gets rid of it.
Trainer Pat Clayton still working on Charles Williams, and of course that's something that I'm sure Coach Yock is concerned about, having a healthy team to go into that Western Final.
Now, you don't want to lose this guy. Those cornerbacks, we've mentioned this oftentimes in the past, but when you go out recruiting football players, the toughest guy to find is the guy that stands under the center, that quarterback. But beyond that, it's those guys that stand on the outside, those cornerbacks. You'll see Alexis catch the ball here, and there he comes. And that is a real solid hit. That's what you call dip, hit, and lift.
Yes, when you're playing the Edmonton Eskimos, you better have some strength from the cornerback position. The pass is picked off by Vince Faison.
Faison said, I told you the last time, I warned you, this time I'll get it.
24 seconds show on the clock. Vince Faison heads to the bench, hanging on to that football. Well, next Sunday afternoon, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will be at Commonwealth Stadium to take on the Eskimos in the Western Championship. And next Sunday afternoon at CNE Stadium in Toronto, it will be the Argonauts against the Ottawa Rough Riders. You'll see that game on CBC television. 24 seconds left in this one. On Grey Cup Sunday, the thrill of it all, starting at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. The veteran defensive back of the Blue Bombers, Vince Faison, a Western Conference All-Star in this 1982 season. He has had a very fine year.
Hey, Vince, that's all right, eh, to end it off like that?
Hard talking.
The man is speechless. This should be the final play.
Can't say much more than that.
Lets the scoreboard clock run off the final 2 seconds, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have advanced to the Western Conference Final, 24-3. The verdict over the Calgary Stampeders, and we'll return with our post-game show right after this.
It takes everything you've got and then some. You strain every muscle and nerve till you're ready to drop. But right from the first time you played, you knew you'd found your game. And right from the first time you tried OV, we'll bet you'd found your beer.
That's why you just say OV for that great tasting beer. OV, OV, oh yeah, you just say OV.
Well, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers advancing to the Western Football Final against the Edmonton Eskimos with a thrilling victory this afternoon. And all the scoring happened in the first half except for one field goal. Ray Yock, the victorious Blue Bomber coach, is joining us now, just getting congratulations from the Calgary Stampeders. Raymond, it's got to feel pretty good to be moving on to the next round.
Well, it always is, you know. It's something that you work for all year to get a shot anyway to try to go to the Grey Cup, but I don't know. We're playing a great team in Edmonton, and they've come on very well, and it's going to be a very difficult game.
Raymond, some criticism of this Winnipeg Blue Bomber football team in the past week. Did that have any adverse effect on your getting ready for this game, or did it make you prepare in a different way?
Well, I don't know. You're in this business. You're always going to be under some criticism. Things always don't go your way, and all you do is you're human beings. You try to do a good job and hope things fall right for you. We don't try to let the criticism affect us.
Your emotional feelings right now, how do you feel?
Well,
vindicated in some way?
No, it's just one ball game. It's just one more game, that's all, and we've got a long ways to go, but you never know what'll happen.
Ray, I think Ronnie Lancaster and Leo Cahill may have a question upstairs.
Yeah.
Hey, Ray, did it ever occur to you that you're standing down there coaching this team in Winnipeg Stadium for the last time? Did it ever enter your mind?
Yeah, it did, and it kind of gets you a little bit because I started out here in Canada as a player, and this will be the last time I'll probably be in this stadium.
Well, Ray, it's Leo Cahill. Congratulations on a great season thus far. I know you got one big one left.
Yeah, we sure do, Leo, and as I said, it'll be a very difficult game. Edmonton's playing great football right now, and they've got a lot of tradition, a lot of pride, and it'll be a very difficult game.
Ray, I know you were in conversation I had with you in your office this morning. You said, just watch James Murphy. I think he might show you something. Well, I think he did.
Yeah, he's been kind of in the back of our minds for a long time, but we thought that this was the time to do it. We didn't have anything to lose, and he did a great job.
Are you going to take a day off before you get started for that Edmonton group?
I don't think we can. I don't think we can afford to take a day off when you're playing those guys.
That's for sure.
Okay, Ray, once again, congratulations.
Okay,
It's
thanks,
a little
John.
noisy down here.
Oh, yeah.
Good luck next week. Okay, gentlemen, can you take it away up there?
Well, it is a little noisy down at field level, John. As we indicated, just over 20,000 fans in attendance, the smallest crowd of the year. I think many Winnipeg fans somewhat throughout much of the season that their team would finish in first place, and they were down after last week's loss to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I guess they'll be back on the bandwagon after the victory this afternoon. I think the team was a little down as well. That was the attitude that we seemed to sense yesterday.
But I found yesterday when we were talking to Coach Rainsberger and Coach McKillop, I think Leo asked that question or something. He said they were very, very quiet this week. And, you know, it's hard to read a team at the best of time. And when a team's quiet, you don't know whether they're ready to play or they're ready to quit. That's hard to tell, and I think today they found out they are ready to play.
Well, you've been in a lot of dressing rooms, Ron, when you thought the team was ready to play and they weren't ready to play, but this team showed some character today. They come out here and they wanted to play.
Well, they took control in the first quarter defensively, and then offensively they took over in the second quarter and led 21-3 at halftime, and there were some outstanding performances.
Sports Game Star.
And the Game Stars this afternoon, both from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. On offense, Rick House, and defensively, Paul Bennett. The roommates come through today. We'll start with you. You've got to be a little bit gratified by this triumph today.
Couldn't be happier for the moment right now, I'll tell you.
There was some criticism, Blue Bombers, particularly when we look back to last week against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, a game that would have given you first place.
Go ahead, Mike. I can't hear a thing, bud.
Listen. Tell us about the Edmonton Eskimos next weekend, Paul.
Well, we're just hoping to come up with the same type of intensity that we had this game here. We had a lot of criticism going into this game. We felt we had to prove something not only to ourselves, but to the media and the fans here in Winnipeg, and now we're just ready to go into Edmonton.
Thank you very much for joining us. We know the situation right now is rather difficult. We'll have to get back up to you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it's a little tough to hear. It's interesting that John Wells' father nicknamed Rick House and Paul Bennett the Katzenjammer Kids. The two of them have been almost inseparable, but at the end of this season, they are going to be separated because Paul's getting married.
Well, he might move in, brother. You can't honestly say that. You never know.
Well, the two of them came up with outstanding performances, and as we mentioned, Rick House, really a doubtful starter as late as a couple of hours before game time because he had been sick with the flu, but obviously he's feeling much better right now.
Who's done a better job than that kid all year long, and what a likely guy to be a Shenley Award nominee. We talked about it before, you know, that he played the slot back position. He's played every position on the football team and can play it well. And when I think that a guy was sitting alongside of me at one time or other had an opportunity to do something with this guy, no.
Well, as I said earlier, in defense of Ron, when he played at Simon Fraser, Rick House that is, he was a running back, and I don't think a lot of people really knew that he could catch the ball as well as he could.
Oh, I don't think so either. We knew he could run with the football, but well, I'll tell you, he's had a great year. And I'll tell you, there's an old saying, and a lot of guys, the time a guy is sick before a ball game, usually plays pretty well, and he just helps to carry on that tradition and reputation, I guess.
Well, you've had a perfect weekend, Ron. You
Yes,
picked
sure
both
have.
Hamilton and Calgary to
I
win.
sure did. I had a great weekend picking them. I think everybody will want to know who I pick next week so they can bet against me.
What do you look for next week? First of all, let's talk about Winnipeg and Edmonton.
Well, I wouldn't want to be anybody going into Edmonton right now. As well as they're playing, it's a tough place to play, and it's like the Grey Cup's part of their schedule, and I think you got to always ride with the home team and the champion until you dethrone them. Winnipeg feel they can do it. It should be a good football game.
What do you think?
I think that Edmonton is just, you know, you talk about a team that's coming up that hasn't got any experience, that's peaking. Here's a team that's got 6 Grey Cups in a row, won 5 of them, and they're peaking about as much as you can peak at this time of the season. They've been there before. They're going to be awful tough to beat.
You're a little premature. They haven't won 5 yet. They're
Right.
trying to do that this year. Okay, the game that will be seen on CBC television involves Toronto and Ottawa from CNE Stadium. A winner there, gentlemen.
Go ahead, Leo. I'll tell you what, I'm not betting against Brancato anymore.
Well, I want to say that Brancato's done a fantastic job with Ottawa, and, you know, no one expected him to win today, but those Argonauts are going to be tough to beat on their home field.
And that's the game that you'll be seeing next Sunday afternoon. The Toronto Argonauts in the Eastern Final against the Ottawa Rough Riders. John, Leo, Ron, and I will be there. The executive producer of CFL football on CBC television is Bob Moyer. Today's game was produced by Hugh Carruthers. Our directors, Ron Harrison and Larry Brown. Ron Harrison directing the cameras today, and the man behind the isolated cameras this afternoon, Brant Haywood. Our technical coordinator, Roy McGuire. And in addition to all the other people who have helped bring you Western Conference football on CBC television this season, my special thanks to statistician Sim Simone and the president of the Spotters Union, Mo Simovich. And of course, during cold weather such as we experienced today, a very difficult setup for our technical crew, and our cameramen certainly tested standing out there and working against the elements today. We've enjoyed covering Western Conference football this season. We've also had a lot of fun covering Eastern Conference. We have one remaining. That's the Eastern Final next Sunday afternoon before we get to the climax of the 1982 Canadian Football League season. The Grey Cup game coming your way from CNE Stadium on the 28th, and you'll see it all on CBC television.
Well, Winnipeg Stadium is almost vacant right now. We remind you once more that we do move on to Toronto next weekend for CBC's television's presentation, the Argos and the Ottawa Rough Riders. And from there, the winners will gather in 1982 CFL Championship. CBC television will be there. The thrill of it all, the Grey Cup and the Grey Cup Festival, Sunday, November 27th. Once again, the final score at Winnipeg, the Bombers advancing 24-3.